So the weekend, you know, when I'm doing this sort of job, a 5-day-a-week job, the weekend, be nice, relaxing, a nice quiet time with the family, maybe watch a film, do a bit of reading, go to the park. It's my boy's birthdays in the next couple of weeks, so we're having a joint birthday party, 3 in 1. So we're inviting 3-year-olds and 1-year-olds. Now, listen, I love them, of course I do, my sons. There's going to be no rest there. I'm going to be more exhausted than I am right now, getting up at 4 o'clock every morning for this nonsense. If you've got any tips this morning on how I can, I don't know, kind of maintain some control over this birthday bash at the weekend, could you give me a call? If you've thrown a birthday party for toddlers, how did it go? What did you do? I'll throw that out there. We can talk about that a bit later on. Lots coming up in the show, some light, some quite serious, including 2 men have been found guilty of murdering 2 Somali teenagers in Milton Keynes. We have a look at why it's taken so long to convict them. What would make you go to a working man's club? An investigation by this programme has revealed clubs in Beds, Herts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. Do you go? Have you stopped going? Have you been put off going? And as you heard in the news there, 19-year-old Bunny from Bedfordshire is the star of a new TV programme tonight looking at the future of farming. How difficult is it to be a farmer in the 3 counties? Lots of ways to get in touch. I have to say, Facebook, very popular yesterday. Oh, it all kicked off on there. It all kicked off. You were posting up until quite recently. Do go on Facebook. It's lovely because I like to see you arguing with each other. Play nice. Don't be personal. Nothing nasty, but you can have a bit of banter. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send us a text, 81333, starting your text 3CR. Or, look, it's Friday. Let's have a chat, shall we? All of the phone lines are completely free. So why don't you give me a call? 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
2 men have been found guilty of murdering 2 Somali teenagers in Milton Keynes in a dispute over drugs. Mohammed Farah and Amin Ahmed Ismail were shot dead in an alleyway in Fishermead. This is the 999 emergency call made by a man in a house overlooking the alleyway.
Yeah, I'm in the house and it sounded as though I heard a gunshot. 2 gunshots, and there's someone laying in the alleyway, and there's blood everywhere. No, I can't. It looks too graphic, to be honest.
Right.
It looks really bad. I think it's been shot in the head. There's another gunshot.
Wow, you heard the gunshot. 999 calls always make me very, very uncomfortable, don't they? Well, Fuad Awali and Shamaki Abdul Qadir have been found guilty by a jury at Luton Crown Court. A third man, Yahya Haroon, has been found not guilty. Ben Gumpert from the Crown Prosecution Service explained to our reporter Jessica Cooper why the case had taken so long.
There were 3 defendants. They were all blaming each other. They required a total of some 50 witnesses to come to court, and in proceedings of that seriousness and that complexity, it's to be expected that it's going to take some time. Obviously, I have been presenting the case, striving for the jury to bring in guilty verdicts, and therefore, professionally speaking, that's a satisfying result because it's what I've been striving for. We have to leave these matters in the hands of the jury. It's desperately important that we each see our role as having a defined limit. My job is to receive the evidence from the police, to present it in the most powerful and persuasive way, to make sure that submissions made and evidence given by the defendants, which I believe to be untrue, is revealed as being untrue. But more than that, it isn't really proper for me to say, because that's my role as a professional. Plainly, the evidence was strong, and it's no surprise that the jury has brought in guilty verdicts.
Obviously, the police had enough evidence to charge the third defendant, Yahya Haroon, but today he's been found not guilty. Does that mean he shouldn't have been charged, or what does that mean?
No, I think it's important to understand the stages through which a case against an individual goes. At the charging stage, the police, advised by the Crown Prosecution Service, have to decide whether there is a realistic prospect of conviction. It certainly doesn't mean that because somebody is not convicted in the end, that there was no realistic prospect of their being convicted at the beginning. Yahya Haroon had an ample opportunity to make a full explanation, instead of which he told what can only be described, in all honesty, as a pack full of lies. He's perhaps a fortunate young man that the jury have had the the courage and the insight to enable them to say that just because a man is a liar, that doesn't make him a murderer. But even more than that, it's important to recognise that at the end of the prosecution case, if the judge does not consider that there is adequate evidence on which a jury could convict, he will dismiss the case. That's his duty. And there was no suggestion even that he should consider doing so. So no, there can be no regrets or suggestion that Yahya Haroun was wrongly prosecuted. He was correctly prosecuted, and the jury have brought in an honest verdict on the basis of the evidence they've heard. They have said that they are not sure that he is guilty. That means he is not guilty.
How does this trial compare with others that you have dealt with in the past in terms of the seriousness of the crimes being discussed?
I think it's dangerous to compare the seriousness of crimes. Different individuals are revolted in different ways by different kinds of evil behaviour. Plainly, the taking of life is a very serious matter. The deliberate taking of life is an even more serious matter. And when it's done in a callous and cold-hearted way, as it was in this case, with shots being fired at point-blank range and with one of the killers, Fouad Ouale, returning to the scene to administer the coup de grace, that's a shocking, disgraceful, repellent crime. And it is undoubtedly one of the most shocking cases that I have dealt with. But I'd hesitate to say that it's more serious than other murder cases.
We've heard during the evidence that there were 5 men present in the alleyway at the times of the killings. 2 of those men haven't been in court. They weren't charged and they haven't been present. Where are they? What's happened to them?
It wouldn't be right for me to tell you what is known and what is intended. And indeed, I can say that at the present time there are no firm intentions. What I can say, and this is really a matter principally for the police at the present, although they would be advised by the Crown Prosecution Service, what I can say is the case is not closed. You're absolutely right. The evidence suggested very strongly that there were 5 men present. Only 3 have been tried and only 2 have been convicted. The case remains open.
That was Ben Gumpert from the Crown Prosecution Service speaking to our reporter Jessica Cooper. 08459 455 555. 2 questions, I guess, for you this morning. How on earth am I going to control a load of 3- and 1-year-olds tomorrow? I'm genuinely quite nervous. And have you ever been to a working men's club? I know, completely different things, but... Morning, Iain Lee, BBC 3 Counties Radio, 08459 455 555. We've got a cracking report coming up later on about working men's clubs and how they're all just closing down. Not all of them, but a significant number in Beds, Herts and Bucks. Have you ever been? I used to go when... I seem to remember, and I'm struggling to remember this, there was a trend when I was about 17, 18... maybe 16, for a group of us to go to working men's clubs. I don't know why. It may have been, and let's be honest, it may have been because we got served underage. That's always a distinct possibility. But I seem to remember spending quite a few nights in a working men's club in Slough. I know. I can't quite remember why. Maybe my memory will be jogged later. But have you ever been? What do you think? Is it right that they're closing down? Are you sad to see them going? Are you up in arms about this? Or do you think, well, come on, fair play, they've had their day? And can we find the youngest person who regularly goes to a working men's club? Let's set the bar. Can we find someone below 60 who regularly goes to a working men's club? Now, the scale of sexual offences carried out by Jimmy Savile will be set out in a joint report later this morning by the Metropolitan Police and the NSPCC. The allegations surfaced after he died in 2011, aged 84. The report will say the late TV presenter assaulted children as young as 10 during nearly 4 decades of abuse at hospitals, prisons, schools and on BBC premises. So far, nearly 600 people have come forward with information relating to the scandal. 450 of those relate to Savile himself. Deborah Cogger says she was groped and forcibly kissed by the TV presenter when she was 14. She hopes today's report, called Giving Victims a Voice, will finally bring out the truth about Savile, which was ignored when she was a teenager.
Nobody had taken any notice because it was what he did, and that is how he acted with all the girls all the time, and it was just allowed.
Liz Dux is a lawyer who's representing dozens of Savile's victims.
Even though he can't be prosecuted in the criminal courts, for these statistics to be produced, for them to see that they are not alone, is huge validation. And it's also very important for victims of abuse from other organisations who see how the Savile victims have been treated, how sensitively that they've been dealt with, how we are now having a bigger debate in society about abuse, and they have felt able to report matters to the police for the first time.
Although the report today marks the end of the police investigation into allegations against Savile himself, detectives working on the inquiry, called Operation U-Tree, have questioned several other people about different allegations not involving the TV presenter. Donald Findlater is from the child protection charity the Lucy Faithful Foundation. He says the publicity surrounding Jimmy Savile is also helping other victims of child abuse.
Because it's been in our newspapers, on radio shows every day for the last 3 or 4 months, I think maybe it's served a purpose in actually just kind of galvanising the public interest in actually being part of an answer, making sure that actually each one of us knows something about the problem and is determined to play our part in keeping children safe. If all this attention actually serves that purpose in one small way, it will have helped to keep more children safe.
The Crown Prosecution Service will also publish a review of a decision in 2009 not to charge Savile with sexual offences after investigations by police in Surrey and Sussex. So once in another life on a different radio station, I said I didn't like Bob Marley or reggae. I don't really. I struggle with it. Woman phoned up and said I was a racist. Because I don't like a genre of music and an artist. There was nothing racially motivated in my dislike of reggae. I just find it really slow and ponderous. And that fat PH bass line, it doesn't sit comfortably with me. I've tried. The same with Bowie, with Bob Dylan and with Bob Marley. The 3 Bs, I like to call them. I just did it then. I've really worked at them and gone back to them at different stages in my life. I don't get Bowie, Bob, or who was the other one? Oh, yeah, Bob. Right. Working men's clubs across Beds, Herts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. The Working Men's Club and Institutions Union says that nationally the number of clubs has slumped from around 4,000 in the 1970s to just 2,000 now. One club in Bedford, the Bedford Central Club, is facing hard times and will have to close its doors next month unless they find another club to save them. Well, Barry Howden, president of the club, joins me now. Morning, Barry.
Morning to you.
How long have you been with the club?
I've actually been a member 20 years.
Right, and what have you seen numbers drop in that time?
Well, what happened was we were originally the Bedford Liberal Club, and we moved to our new premises 30 years ago, which was the old post office. This was a Victorian building, 3 stories, and we developed the bottom, the ground floor, and we had a wonderful time for 20 or 25 years.
Yeah. And when did things start going wrong then?
Things started to go wrong about 5 or 6 years ago. The smoking ban was the start of it.
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of difference, but it made a bit of difference. But then, of course, we then went into this double-dip recession. And we realised that we had to downsize our club because it was far too big for what we wanted. So we had several developers come in and ideas, and we had one firm of developers who are actually working on the new Bedford. And they said, look, if you give us, if we give you £1,000 a month for 2 years, can we have exclusivity? Because in 2 years' time, things will be different. We'll be able to sort it out for you, i.e. a new club or redevelop your present one.
Yeah.
So 2 years went, and they came to us after 2 years, giving us £24,000, and just walked away, said, sorry, this recession is just as bad, we can't do anything about it. Now, in this time, our takings have dropped by 50%, the outgoings have gone up, and we are actually losing £1,000 to £1,500 a month.
Oh, Barry.
Now, during the good times, we managed to salt money away. We don't owe anybody anything.
Right. We've
still got a few £1,000, but we're calling an extraordinary meeting in February for our members to put it to them what they want us to do.
So one of those options that you're going to raise could be closing the club down?
That is one of them. We really don't want to go there.
What else have you got? What else? Other things have you got up your sleeve, then, that you could do?
Well, a few years ago, we had an extraordinary meeting when this first started, and we suggested amalgamation with another club. But the members, who own our club, by the way, didn't want to do that, so we just shelved that. That's one option. The other one is selling the club, which we don't want to do. And, of course, any ideas anybody can come up with is going to help us. But we've got about another 2 years left, I would think.
So, Barry, on a Saturday night,
how
many punters have you got in?
Right. I can tell you that 6 or 7 years ago, if you weren't there by 7:30, this is Friday, Saturday and Sunday, you wouldn't get a seat.
Yeah.
Now, we used to have 200, we're down to about 50 to 75.
Oh, dear.
Now, the classic was this year, we have a grand draw. Tickets are sold for this grand Christmas draw from September onwards with a really big night for the club.
Yeah.
And if you weren't there by 7:30, you wouldn't get a seat.
That's it, you're out.
This year, less than 20 people turned up.
Oh, Barry.
So, that is getting sort of out of hand now. I mean, for instance, the outgoings, like on New Year's Eve, the group we had, which was a duo, was £700.
What?
£700
For a duo?
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong business. I'm totally in the wrong business.
When you think to take over the bar, you've got to take at least, £2,000 to cover that.
So aren't the acts, we've got some acts coming on later, we'll have a word with them, aren't they kind of lowering their prices then? Because if there are less and less clubs, then...
We do have an entertainment secretary, and he does try his hardest, but, I mean, they're having a hard time as well, aren't they?
I'll come and do you a night for 400 quid.
No, well...
No!
Well, I'll tell you what, every Saturday it's at least £250, £300.
Oh, blimey, Barry.
We had an experiment New Year's Eve, which is usually our harvest. That's the night when all the members come out of the woodwork who we haven't seen all the year round.
Yeah.
We tried an experiment of charging at the door. That didn't go down very well with the members, but we managed to retrieve about half of the cost of the band, but...
You obviously care very passionately about this club, don't you, Barry?
I was president 7 years ago, and I've seen things how they used to be and how they are now.
Mm.
I mean, little things like fruit machines. 7 years ago used to take £50,000 a year profit. Now they make about 10 or 12.
Excuse me? 50 grand profit on a gambler?
Very good. We have some very good customers on there. And like now, it's gone the other way.
Barry, listen, it genuinely makes me sad to hear stories like this, because I think working men's clubs are kind of... they're an important part of our culture and our heritage, and it's really easy to be sniffy and snooty and laugh at them, but they bring a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. And hearing that makes me sad. That's Barry Howden, who is the president of the Bedford Central Club. Do you go to working men's clubs? I'm guessing we've got a few people listening who probably do. Part of me thinks maybe it's the age thing. It's perceived as being an old man's night out. Can we find anyone? Let's keep the bar quite high. Can we find anyone under the age of 60 who's been to a working men's club?
And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 7 o'clock.
Now, Catherine Boyle.
Yes.
You're from up north, aren't you? You're from up north.
Yes.
And they do loads of silly things that we think are a little bit outdated. For example...
You mean proper things? Go on, anyway.
Yeah. For example, going to working men's clubs.
Yes.
Do you
not everyone, but my family in particular are quite keen on their local Conservative club.
Right. Come on. So, have you been to one? I'm joking.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we have all the family dues there.
Are you going to go to one soon?
Yes, I am, next month.
Really?
My cousin's having a party. We got an invitation with the cast of Shameless on the front saying, we're having a party.
But the cast of Shameless won't be there?
They might.
And what's the act you're going to see?
It's going to be an adult entertainment. On the invitation, it put very, very subtly, no kids invited.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adults. That's right. Catherine Boyle, the news reader on BBC Three Counties Radio, the BBC, is going to see some adult entertainment up north. Lots coming up in the next 30 minutes of the show, including we look at what the future holds for young farmers in Bedfordshire. And the film Les Miserables opens at the cinema today. Part of it was filmed here in the Three Counties. Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? Yes, it is. I'll reveal where in the next 20 minutes. Lots of things to talk about, including my boy's going to be 3 and 1 this month, and we're throwing a joint birthday party tomorrow. And it suddenly dawned on me, we're throwing a joint birthday party. There are going to be loads of 3 and 1 year olds there. How on earth do I keep control over what could be hell? Barbara's in Stevenage. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning. I'm going to give you some trade secrets, you know.
Are you a child?
No, I'm an entertainer.
Oh, even with your spooky voice?
Even my spooky voice.
Okay.
Right.
That doesn't scare children?
No.
Okay. Just thought it might do.
First of all, make an area for them, just one room.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
And clear all the toys out from that room. Now, everybody thinks you should put toys in.
Yeah.
Wrong thing. Clear them all out, because A, they get broken, B, they fight over them. If you've got large ones, they run over the little ones.
Yes, they do.
Right.
So what are they going to do in this room? You should be locking them in there?
No. You get some mums, but you get some pencils and papers to start with. So when they come in, you give them a pencil and paper and tell them to draw something, and you give them 2 or 3 lots of paper so that you give them a a specific thing to draw.
Like a shoe,
a dinosaur,
or
a house,
some wood.
That's it.
Draw
something
some wood.
like that, right?
Yeah.
Then when you've got them all in, because they come in dribs and drabs, they normally do, you get them to do some little dancing games, some little jumping up and down games.
Oh, like sleeping lions and things, and sleeping bunnies.
And then you do a small parcel. But, listen, it's easier to do it with elastic bands.
What, sorry?
Elastic bands.
No, you do it in newspaper.
No, you put the elastic bands around the newspaper.
No, Barbara, that's not how you do pass the parcel. You sellotape it.
No, because it's complicated for the kids.
Pass the parcel's not complicated.
Actually, if you use crepe paper, it's better.
Beg your pardon, we'll use excellent paper. Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I do apologise.
Because you can
Barbara, a drawing.
Code it.
I want this party to be amazing. A party. What did Arthur? What did you do at Uncle Ian's party? We drew a dinosaur and some wood, and then they had some crepe paper that was held together with elastic bands.
Yeah, but that's
we won't be going there
parcel.
again. Yeah.
No, it works all the time.
So, are you a children's entertainer?
Uh-huh.
Are you sure you've not called me up before telling me you were a witch?
Oh, I've done that before as well. I'm all sorts of things.
We'll leave it there. Would you have a witch as a children's entertainer at your party? I didn't know about that. Thank you, Barbara. Excellent advice. Apart from the drawing and the pass the parcel. I flippin' love the Beatles. Beatles weekend in my house, I've decided. Beatles weekend. Although my eldest boy, who's going to be 3, I'm sorry to keep banging on about it, but when you're a parent, it's what you do, isn't it? Your life, it disappears and you just talk about your kids. He loves the Monkees. Now, that's not because of me. I've not made him love the Monkees. That's obviously his own choice. Yes, it's all that gets played in the car and around the house. He knows all the words to Daydream Believer and the theme tune and some obscure album tracks as well. That's my boy. You can forget your DNA tests. That's good enough for me. Now, if you watch First Time Farmers on Channel 4 tonight, you'll see a 19-year-old from Bedfordshire. Bunny Sear is one of the stars of the programme, which looks at the realities of life for the next generation of farmers. We'll be speaking to her a bit later on in the show. Well, our reporter, Serena Farrow, went to Shuttleworth College in Biggleswade, which runs courses in agriculture, to find out why young people there are keen to be farmers.
Come off a family farm, so wanted to do it for quite a long time. Kind of in your blood. Yeah, I do enjoy it, and it's good fun as well. Well, I like doing hands-on sort of...
You're good with your hands?
Yes. So I can't do anything sitting down work, like office work or anything. I'm not very good, but I like doing practical stuff and outdoors. I don't really like livestock much. Yeah, I like driving the tractors.
It is normally, like they say, manual men's work.
Yeah, they say it's men's work, but I think women can take over as well.
Worked on a farm for 3 years, just doing harvest work and livestock work. Hopefully I'll become a livestock manager when I'm older. Pretty much only works with livestock, cattle and sheep. And then there's the arable side, so all the land work and all the cultivations and harvest and stuff like that.
And do you come from a farming background?
No, I don't, but I've kind of liked it since I was quite young.
Isn't it difficult, though, being an outsider coming into it?
Not really, because there's only a few actual people who own a farm on the course, so there's more people who don't own a farm than people who do own a farm, so it's quite good.
I've come from a sort of farming background. My auntie owns a small pig farm, and I just absolutely love livestock. I want to be like a livestock manager or something like that.
What would be the advice to anybody you think who wants to become a farmer?
Go round to the local farmers, like ask for work experience or anything over harvest. If they're livestock, then ask for lambing. All my friends liked it. Coming from a farming background, there's so many jobs that you need to be doing. A lot of them have been asking, have you got any jobs going? Because it's just looking for work at the moment, as there's nothing around. But there's a fair bit of farming.
Here's something. We like to bounce all over the place, from farming to Les Miserables. The film version of the hit musical opens today, boasting stars such as Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway, Sacha Baron Cohen and Helena Bonham Carter. It's been nominated for 7 Oscars, and the film has got a local connection. Our rubbish musical correspondent Justin Dealey can tell. I've seen the play, Justin. It didn't do anything for me.
Do you know what? I've not spoken to anybody who's been to it, and they said, you know what? You must go and see this. You will love it.
Do you know any of the songs from it?
No, not really. No.
I dreamed a dream of times gone by when hopes were high and life worth living.
Well, if that's an audition for the musical, I'm not going.
Yeah, no, but people love it, don't they?
Yeah, do you know what? Record breaking. It's been shown in countries right the way around the world, in different languages. It's a record breaking musical.
Yep.
Will it work though? Film wise, you're not going to be going, are you?
Well, I saw a trailer for it, and to be honest, I thought it looked very very, very impressive. It did look quite amazing.
Yes. My mum said to me yesterday, can you take me to the cinema next week? Let me just check my diary, Mum. I'll see if I can fit you in. But there is a local connection. That local connection is Ashridge in Hertfordshire. I don't know whether you've been there, Ian, but it's an amazing place.
No,
I've
not.
Absolutely beautiful. I was there yesterday. I've been talking to Lawrence Trowbridge. What a cool title. He is the lead ranger at the Ashridge estate.
Oh, man. I'm just a breakfast host.
And he's been telling me how they got involved in this new film.
Yeah, well, we were approached by the production company to film Les Miserables at Ashridge in a very special area called Frisden Beaches, which is a very pretty area of beech trees on the Ashridge estate. And the first interesting thing was that it was the middle of summer and they wanted to make it look like it was winter, which is a regular request from the film crew. So basically a snow effect was proposed, which was quite an interesting thing to manage.
I can well imagine. In terms of stars, we'll come back to the snow in a second, but in terms of stars, Hugh Jackman was here.
Yeah, he was. A very, very small amount of filming, but he came along to Ashridge, and there was a scene where he was with a small girl. I don't know the story particularly well, but that was a scene in the snow in the beautiful woodland at Ashridge.
We've got a picture here of Hugh. Just for the benefit of our listeners, he is coming out of the sea. He is looking ripped. He's a handsome man, so I presume the ladies at Ashridge got very excited about Hugh Jackman being here.
The ladies that I know of, there's only a few of them in our team actually, but yeah, they were quite excited. Yeah,
you can take that photograph with you.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I'll give it to them.
Give it
but
to
he's
them.
A handsome fellow.
He is a handsome man. So the snow, as you mentioned, it was in the summer, very, very hot. How long did it take to create the snow for that small scene in this film?
The snow effect has to be very carefully managed, and we look after a very special site here. It's a site of special scientific interest, so any of these requests we have to very carefully manage and consider. But it took almost a day to put down the special effect, and it was something that we had to really carefully consider and agree with, like, the government body for nature conservation, Natural England. Yeah, once all that's done and we're happy with things, things can go ahead. But it takes quite a while to put these things in place.
Justin, you still there?
I'm still here. Yes.
I'm surprised you don't like Les Mis because you're quite camp, really, aren't you?
Am I?
Well, you were telling me the other on your recent break. You were telling me we were talking about Jersey Boys, and we both agreed Jersey Boys,
brilliant,
fantastic, wonderful. And then you went, oh yeah, and I went and saw the Viva Forever, the Spice Girls musical.
It was wonderful.
Well, this is it, because it's had terrible reviews. And I went, oh, was it a bit rubbish? You went, oh no, I loved it.
No, I did. I went in my heels, I went in my Jerry Halliwell dress, I sang all the songs, it was great. But I think that tells you what I'm into in the West End. When you go and watch a West End show, it's got to be the songs that you know, the songs that you love all the way through, otherwise you're sitting there and they're saying, oh look, there's a nice desk over there. Oh, what a lovely desk. And it's a load of old nonsense. So I want the songs that I know and I love.
Yeah, that's right. You just said Justin Dealey improvising a song about a lovely desk on BBC Three Counties Radio. Thank you, Justin. That's really made me chuckle. Oh, what a lovely desk. But let's get the latest weather now with leg warmer wearing Elizabeth Rossini.
Hello, very good morning to you. Yes, I've got the leg warmers on today. That's how cold it is. It's going to stay cold for today, the rest of the weekend, and indeed into next week too. That's the forecast for now.
Have you finished now?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. How are your leg warmers? Are they good?
Yeah, they're black. I was just telling your producer that actually I quite like luminous ones with some roller skates.
Has everyone gone absolutely mental this morning? What on earth is going on with my team? Everyone's got Friday fever. Hey, listen, if you're in a band or you're a singer or you're a musician or whatever, and you want to get your music on the radio, a.k.a. BBC Three Counties, then you could do. Upload your best tracks to bbc.co.uk/introducing. You could bag yourself, this is exciting, look, not only airplay, but a slot on the Introducing Festival stages or in one of our sessions. The show has moved, not Friday nights anymore, no, it's Saturday nights, 8pm, prime slot. Everyone wants the Saturday night 8pm gig. And you can hear music like this. This is a song from James Bay, from Hitchin, and it's called When We Were on Fire. I don't know why he's singing in an American accent. That's fine. Maybe he's an American. But I like that. That's good. That's James Bay from Hitchin. Like he cares what an old man like me thinks. But well done, James. Keep at it. Good work there. When We're on Fire. Hear more music from Beds, Hearts and Bucks with Gareth Lloyd on BBC Introducing Saturday evenings from 8 o'clock. 08459 455 555 is the phone number if you want to give us a call. Talking working men's clubs and tips for children's parties. Got a children's party tomorrow for 3 and 1 year olds. Now, people living on Wixham's in Bedfordshire. It's funny, we spoke about this the other day, and I drove past it on Wednesday, I think, say they'll fight plans for a landfill on their doorstep. It forms part of a wider waste management facility being suggested for the old clay pits just outside Bedford. Hundreds of people have objected and will today hand in their concerns to the council. Craig was one of the first residents to move on to Wixham's 3 years ago.
To be fair, I'm absolutely disgusted. I know a lot of all the residents are. I'll say it a lot. It's not fair to say everyone, but I'm sure more than not. We knew nothing about it when we moved into the village. Neither have most of the people that have moved here. They're calling it Elstow South. However, the site is in Wixham's. It's going to be 600 metres from where we live at the moment. And there's going to be new houses built that are going to be 30 metres away. You know, with the plans including the household waste site, you're going to get hundreds of more vehicles about. The whole idea was this was for families, it's made for children, yet what they want to do now is bring in a lot more vehicles. That's going to create a lot more pollution. One of the MPs has already stated the proposal here is to take waste from London. Surely Wixham's is not the dumping ground of the country. There's got to be other more suitable places. It will break Wixham's. You know, it's totally contradicting what we've been promising. And I know as much as anyone, I'm fuming. You know, I've brought my daughter here for a new community. I've not brought her here to live next to a landfill site.
My name is Letitia Royston White, and I've lived here nearly 3 years. Where I'm living, we didn't even receive any documentation, no correspondence from the council. And we weren't aware of it. The first we became aware of it was beginning of November. So that's really and it's very, very distressing indeed. It's massive worry. I cannot see if we have a large incinerator, and it's a very large incinerator in Stuartby, how there can be any justification having landfill here as well. But it does feel that Mid-Beds is getting somewhat blighted by huge waste management issues.
Well, FCC Environment, the people behind the plans, weren't available this morning, but they've given us a statement which says our plans to develop an integrated waste management plant at Elstow South are designed to provide a much-needed facility to treat commercial and industrial waste. The operation will ensure that waste materials delivered to the site are recycled, and where this is not possible, the material will be further processed to create a fuel. Our plans provide a suitable method of treating waste in a suitable manner. Now, speaking of treating waste, got a load of kids tomorrow coming round for a third and first birthday party. What on earth am I going to do, April?
Get the grandmas involved.
Oh, yes. When you say get them involved, do you mean just palm it off?
No, what happened, for the last 3 years, I've had birthday party for my son and his friend, because their birthdays are very close.
How old are these?
Well, the next birthday they'll be 4.
Okay. Oh.
So what we did was we hired a village hall.
Yeah.
And then we just got the grandmas involved.
Yeah.
And actually, the grandmas are amazing at organising kids, because they've got years of experience.
Haven't they just?
Although I'm probably cheating with mine, because she's a retired primary school teacher.
Well, she's got even more years of experience then. Here's Yaya, isn't she? She's very good with them, so yes, I'll get her to do some of it.
But in fairness, I know the pain you're going through.
Yeah, I'm going through. I'm worried about the pain I'm going to be going through tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and this year we've decided we're going to do a joint birthday party at one of those fun factory type places.
Yeah. Do you do? Because 4's a little bit older. Are they at that age when one of his friends has a birthday party, you can turn up, drop your son off, and then you disappear for 2 hours?
Definitely at 4, I would say yes, so I can get away with it. I mean, that's why we did, the village hall. I'd turn up with a big van full of toys.
Yeah.
My friend Janet should turn up with a big van full of toys. We just put toys in the
Barbara,
middle.
the witch, stroke children's entertainer, said don't give them toys.
No, give them toys.
And
it's
fizzy
difficult
pop?
for you because you've got a 1 and a 3.
Yeah, it's that mix, you see. Oh, can we just lock them in a room for an hour with some fizzy pop and just see what happens?
No, because otherwise the chocolate would be all over the floor.
That's disappointing. That's really disappointing. Let's hope. April, excellent advice. Yes, grandparents will definitely be involved. I think we are having it in a hall somewhere, so that makes it easier.
BBC Three Counties Radio. First for news.
You got kids, innit?
Yes.
What do you do at parties?
I lock them in the garden. They were born in the summer.
I'm not locking my children in the garden. It could snow this weekend. What terrible advice. What's happened to everybody who's working on this show? Elizabeth Rossini, Justin Dealey, and now Catherine Boyle have all gone mental. Very, very alarming. Lots coming up between now and 9 this morning. If you want to take part, I'll give you the contact details in a minute. Some of it quite light-hearted, some of it a little bit serious, including 2 men have been convicted of murdering 2 teenagers who were shot in a drug turf row in Milton Keynes. We look at what can be done to tackle problems with drugs in Milton Keynes. What would make you go to a working man's club? An investigation by this programme has revealed clubs in Beds, Herts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. Well, I'll be speaking to a comedian from Codicott to find out why he thinks they've gone downhill. And how would you feel if you moved into an area and then a few weeks later you found out a landfill site could be built on your doorstep? I'd imagine you'd be pretty upset, wouldn't you? Well, that's what's happened to residents of Wixham's in Bedfordshire. They're fuming. I'll be speaking to one of them in the next hour. If you want to get in touch, and I'm still looking for your tips on how on earth I can survive this children's party tomorrow, facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Put your name on it as well. And give us a call. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
2 men have been found guilty of murdering 2 Somali teenagers in Milton Keynes in a dispute over drugs. Mohammed Farah and Amin Ahmed Ismail were shot dead in an alleyway in Fishermead. Fouad Awali and Shamaki Abdul Qadir have both been found guilty by jury at Luton Crown Court. A third man, Yahya Haroun, has been found not guilty. Tony Fisher reports on what happened. This report starts with a graphic 999 call made by a resident on the night of the shootings.
Yeah, I'm in the house and it sounded as though I heard a gunshot. 2 gunshots, and there's someone laying in the alleyway, and there's blood everywhere. No, I can't. It looks too graphic, to be honest.
Right.
It looks really bad. I think it's been shot in the head. There's another gunshot.
The heart-stopping moment when a resident whose house overlooked the alleyway rang 999 and described hearing the gunshots. He wasn't the only witness.
Unfortunately, this is one of the worst estates, or the not-so-good estate. The kids are out late at night, causing trouble, being loud, which is what I thought was going on, to be fair. I thought it was just the kids messing about again. I heard the shooting, yeah, I did, yeah.
Drugs are the problem here, and I suppose shooting is something that goes with the territory. If you're into drugs, you're going to get shootings. I don't think there's any argument about that. So, yes, you've got to put up with it.
Yeah, I've been living here for over 10 years now, and though people keep on saying Fishermead is a bad area, but thing of this sort has never happened.
That's a view which is shared by the investigating officer in the case, Detective Superintendent Rob Mason.
It's a very, very significant case. This is such an unusual killing. To have 2 shootings in this manner, I can't recall the last time we've had anything like this.
The murders, which stemmed from a dispute over drug turf, seem to result in a divide within the community in Fishermead. Isabella Fraser was one of the local councillors at the time.
Obviously, the Somali community appear to be dissatisfied with what has happened. The endemic white community are concerned. I think that the ward's name has been brought into disrepute. It's not a bad ward. It has problems, but it's not a bad ward.
Are you concerned that there might become a bit of a divide between the sort of white community and the black community or the Somali community?
I am concerned. It's almost happening now, and I am concerned.
Fortunately, although tensions did run high at the time, things did calm down a little, especially once the arrests were made and the trial was underway. However, nothing can be done to bring back the lives of 2 teenagers who were killed in an execution-style murder. Gabriel Farah is the elder brother of one of the victims, Mohammed.
This is shocking news. I'm still sometimes asking myself, is this a dream? Is this the dream? When is it due to be waked up? We can't go back to our lives.
Mohammed's mother, Fadumo Abdi, says her son did not deserve to be killed.
I was expecting that my son bury me. I haven't expected that I have to bury my son.
So it's really heartbreaking. He was a polite, he was ambitious, he wanted to study. He was really good boy. Every mother, mothers, you know how I feel.
That's Tony Fisher reporting there. Well, Professor John Pitts is from the Centre for the Study of Crime at the University of Bedfordshire. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
You hear about drug turf wars and things like that in the Bronx and LA and America. It's not that normal for somewhere like Milton Keynes, is it?
No, it's extremely unusual. And also within the Somali community, that's more or less unheard of, I think.
How difficult are drug wars or turf wars like this to tackle?
I think they're very difficult because the drugs business, both the customers and the people selling the drugs, don't want to be known, don't want to be caught. Very few people who are in a dispute about drugs would ever go to the police for obvious reasons. So, they are difficult to police. I think most of the work I've done has been in London. I think where inroads have been made by the police tends to be based on informants informants who may be embedded in the gang or in the community. But very difficult, yeah.
We heard in that report from Tony from different members of different communities within Fishermead. What impact can something have like this have on community tensions?
Well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? If this was a feud between two groups or two different clans within the community, it could exacerbate that. I know one of the problems that we've certainly had in the major cities has been when a dispute about drugs has gone off like this, then you will have a sudden rise in tit-for-tat violence, tit-for-tat shootings. And in certain cities, of course, you now have mediation teams who pick up intelligence about this and try to mediate between the groups before it gets before it does turn into violence.
There can often be a lot of resentment, a mistrust of the police. Is it ever possible to gain the trust of members of a community who might be reluctant to come forward?
Yes, I think it is, and I think I've seen it happen. I've done some work in Manchester recently, and I think the Excalibur team there, which is concerned with gangs and some drug-related violence, has been very successful, made good relationships within the community, and they've seen the number of firearms discharges drop from, somewhere in the area of 160 5 years ago to none in the last 18 months. So they've been very, very effective. But they're out every night, they're meeting people, they're confronting young people on the streets if they suspect them, and they're also in contact with families.
Professor John Pitts from the Centre for the Study of Crime at the University of Bedfordshire, thank you very much indeed.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yes. Yep. Shall we have a quick look at the front pages of the newspapers? Yay, why not? Yay, everybody says. Let's do it, Iain. The Guardian. Officer is first phone hacking conviction. Detective faces jail for trying to sell information to the news of the world. There's a picture, two stories about movies on the front page. Spielberg's Lincoln leads patriotic Oscars charge. I sat through the first 15 minutes of Lincoln. I only just found out it's 150 minutes long. I'm glad. I know, it's too long. I'm glad I left after 15 minutes. Very, very tedious. And then there's a picture of US actor Kerry Washington for the premiere in London for the premiere of Quentin Tarantino's Oscar-nominated Django Unchained. My friend Eloise went to see Django Unchained. She went to see it twice. She liked it that much. And the second time, she had these people talking behind her. She said, so she sat patiently. And then she turned around to shush them. It was Quentin Tarantino and his mate. They sat behind him watching a Quentin Tarantino film. Isn't that weird? How cool would that be? Could you shut... Oh, hi, Quentin. Sorry, yeah, you carry on. I still would have told him to shut up, to be honest. Let's have a quick look at a couple more, then we'll go to Paul in Bletchley, who's on the phone. The Daily Telegraph. The abortion of unwanted girls taking place in the UK. Illegal abortion on the grounds of gender may be taking place in Britain. There's Anne Hathaway, who's in Les Mis, that we were talking about earlier on. And the Royal Opera House tries to seduce a younger audience. Cheaper tickets. That's all you need. It's great in the Royal Opera House. Cheaper tickets. That's all you need. One more. The Times. There's a girl holding a baby chicken as a telephone. There really is. Beyond that, I can say no more. 08459 455 555. Paul is in Bletchley. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Is your throat nice and clear?
A little bit.
Good for you. Yeah, do you go to working men's clubs?
I do belong to Bletchley Fenny Stratford Club. I must admit, lately I haven't been down there too often, but when my son was, before he's married, we used to go and play snooker there quite a bit. But I think the chap from Bedford, the secretary, hit it on the head when he said that the fruit machines... I think the take was something like £50,000
$50 grand a year profit down to about 10 grand.
Yes, I think it's the roulette machines in the bookies that have killed this.
Right.
And presumably the percentage take on the roulettes is much smaller than the fruit machines.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter lives in Australia, and in there, the RSL clubs, that's the returned servicemen league clubs, they're almost totally funded by the pokies, as they call them.
The what?
Even the beer and stuff.
What are they called?
Well, pokies or slots and things like that.
The gamblers are called the pokies?
no, the machines.
The fruit machines, yeah. Oh, I like that. One-armed bandit's a pokey. I'm having that.
Yeah.
Paul, we're trying to find the youngest person that goes to working men's club. I've set the bar at 60. Are you below 60, sir?
I'm not, no.
Oh, no. How old are you? How old are you?
67.
Really? You've got a very young man's voice.
A lot of people say that, yeah. It's sort of
very sparky at this time of the week. When was the last time you went to your club, then?
Well, I went in to renew the membership, actually, about last week, but unfortunately the cards hadn't come through from the printers, so I'll no doubt be going this weekend, probably just...
And how much does the membership cost?
It's, well, for myself, it's, I think it's £10 or £5.
Oh, that's a year?
Yeah, I think the initial... When you join, initially it might be 15 or 20, and then after that it goes down to £10 a year.
And what acts do you get down there? What turns?
Well, on the Saturday night they have, groups sometimes, and discos and bingo, I think, on a Sunday night. At least they used to. I haven't been there down there for a little while.
Comedians?
I think sometimes.
Magicians?
They have entertainment nights. And,
transvestites?
Sorry?
Magicians?
I don't know about it. Oh, they do have children's. Yeah, days, afternoons and parties and things like that.
He's referring to the magicians. I like a bit of magic. Paul, listen, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. I like a bit of magic. I'm a big fan of magic, actually. Oh, I love a good magician. We should get a magician on the show one day. I'll describe it. It'll be fine. It'll be just for me. Now, working men's clubs across Beds, Herts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. The Working Men's Club and Institutions Union says that nationally, the number of clubs has slumped from around 4,000 in the 1970s to just around 2,000 now. Well, our reporter, Sophie Solaria, has been down to meet some of the club members of the Dunstable Conservative Club to find out how things have changed there over the years.
Cheers.
So, how long have you been coming to Dunstable Conservative Club?
Well, as long as been able to drink, virtually, yes. On and off about, say, 40 years.
74 I joined, and it's very, very strict.
Tell me what you had to wear, Peter.
A tie, at least.
I feel underdressed.
Well, let's put it this way, in them days you wouldn't have got in here with a pair of jeans on.
No.
Yeah. No way.
Jeans around the driving room. You had to be dressed properly.
How busy was it in here?
Very busy. Very.
So this section that you're sitting on now, just around the second bar, I think, in the club, there's about half a dozen of you. Would you have been able to have got a seat here in the corner?
No, would not. No.
No, not then, because
no, in those days it was a lot of old age pensioners in here. Sadly, most of them have passed on.
What about the younger generation, though? Are they coming through the door?
Not really, no. Youngsters today are not club orientated.
You ain't got no youngsters, you ain't got no future.
How are you going to get them through the door?
Now that I would not know.
That's $1 million
question. The young people are the future.
Yes, it's like the modern shopping centres. If you haven't got younger people shopping in your local community, the community dies and they're shopping online. What's the answer? I don't know.
Well, we do have entertainments on Saturdays.
You have entertainment? What kind of entertainment do you have?
All sorts of entertainments. In that front bar. We get singers in there. We have had discos, but I love our discos, but we do have them now and again.
Yeah?
Not all that often. And you do the bingo, George? Oh, yes, I do the bingo on a Friday night.
Bingo on a Friday Friday. That should get them in, shouldn't it?
There's no buses down at night time.
You can't get buses down, so you can't get the older people out at night.
You can't get down.
So you need some buses here, some local transport, getting people in, getting those doors open.
Yes.
What will happen if you can't get that younger generation through those doors?
Well, it eventually die, won't it?
It died. Every big company had their own social club years ago, and they were all well attended. Now the big companies have gone out of Dunstable, and there's only about 3 clubs left in Dunstable.
Well, that's our reporter Sophie Solaria there. Joining us now is club comedian Johnny Tate from Codicott in Hertfordshire. Morning, Johnny.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine. I was saying, are you normally up this time of the morning, or what's...
Only if I haven't gone to bed yet.
Yeah, that's what we like. Yeah. How long... without being rude, you look like a seasoned professional.
You mean I look old?
I didn't say anything like that at all. How long have you been working on the club circuit?
36 years.
Really?
36 years this year, yeah.
And what changes have you noticed?
They're falling off. I mean, I don't do as much club work as I used to do. I'm still doing the holiday parks, the military bases, the after-dinner speaking at the golf clubs and the rugby clubs.
You have a great life. You get flown out to Greece and Egypt to do gigs and stuff. You're living the dream, aren't you?
Oh, it's great, yeah. The old flybacks. You fly out, have a few days in Egypt, do a couple of shows and fly back again.
It's a tough life. But the working men's clubs, they're on their way out, aren't they?
It's a shame because for years they've been the backbone in the entertainment industry. I strongly believe what they're doing wrong is they've not tried to attract younger membership. If you get the youngsters in, the youngsters still enjoy what a 60-year-old will enjoy. I mean, when I work a club where there's a lot of youngsters, I'll do it and... At the end of the gig, I'll be at the side flogging me DVDs, and the youngers will go, "Oh, mate, that were wicked. You were well funny." And the youngsters like the old 60s music as well, so there's no reason why you can't bring young people in.
Why aren't the young people going in? Is it because they think it's all cloth caps and pints and mild and it's an old person's thing?
Exactly.
So how do you change that image then?
Well, get out there. Get out on the streets and sell. I mean, I've got a show going on Sunday at the Campus West Theatre in Welling Garden City called The House That Rocked Blood. And I'm attracting a younger audience by having a young cast. The age group range from 18 to 50, but the average age is probably about 27.
Yeah.
Getting them to dress up in all their gothic gear and saying, "Come on, this is a party." And that's the publicity that we've been putting in the local papers and that. Now, why can't the working men's clubs go, "Come on, we got a comedian, we've got a great old Beatles tribute band, get dressed up in the gear, come and join us"?
But is it because younger people, listen to me, the kids, if they want to go and see a comedian, they'll go to a comedy club, because there's comedy clubs everywhere now. Every room above a pub is a comedy club. So they'll go and see that. Or if they want to go and see a band, they'll go to a specific music venue. The thought of going somewhere that kind of does everything, it doesn't seem so appealing, I don't think, anymore.
Well, why not support your local club? I mean, I went in my local pub, the Goat in Codicott, last night, and there was an open mic night. There were singers, musicians, and all sorts going on. Lots of young people, fun enough. The majority of the people in the club, apart from the landlords, Graham and Brenda, were actually younger than me. Now, I can do a gig in a working men's club, and everybody will be older than me.
Wow, that is old.
Still entertainment, still across the board. It's just... I think you hit the nail on the edge. You've got to get away with that image of this is only for old people.
Is it... listen, I've not been to a working men's club since I was about 18. Is it all...
You're not going to admit that you was drinking at 17,
I don't know what you mean. 14. No, not at all. What... Is it all kind of like mother-in-law gags and stuff like that still?
No, not at all. No, we go right across the board. I mean, we do stuff to appeal to youngsters as well, and we do the daft stuff. No, honestly, and banter with the audience. A lot of when I do working men's clubs, I'll banter with the audience more so than when I do theatres.
Yeah. Let's have a word with Holly Coombe. Holly Coombe is a columnist for feminist website The F Word. Morning, Holly.
Good morning, Ian.
What's your opinion on the stereotypical working men's club?
Well, obviously the stereotypical working men's club, I had quite an image of it in my mind of sort of associating it with mother-in-law jokes and excluding women and all guys. But as I've sort of looked it up, I mean, obviously that did exist years ago, but now it seems that a lot of working men's clubs are actually trying to sort of move forward, and some of them have become quite trendy gig venues, that sort of thing. But that kind of got me thinking about, is this a kind of gentrification of old working men's clubs? And actually, while there was never an excuse for the sexism and excluding women wasn't right, you know, is it that there isn't somewhere for people to go and just have a pint? You know, like the thing you were saying about cloth caps, well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that whole sort of image of sort of, you know, working people, you know, sort of having somewhere to... Yeah.
I wouldn't say in the slightest, but I would imagine that that would possibly put off younger people and younger women as well. Why would a young woman in her 20s want to go to a working men's club?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the name, I suppose, because, I mean, obviously calling it a working men's club, that is somewhat excluding. But, you know, if only I mean, I suppose I'm sort of looking into a kind of utopia, but if there was an equivalent that hadn't excluded women in the first place, I don't think there would be anything wrong with that. It would be just a different kind of venue of many. And obviously older people do want somewhere to socialise as well. So, but, I mean, obviously it's really great that some of them are turning into these trendy venues and they are bringing people through the door. It's
Johnny,
just a case of...
Yeah, Holly, they won't let me join the Women's Institute. Why is that? Sounds very sexist to me.
The Women's Institute obviously is a very old institution as well, and I've never been a part of it, so I couldn't speak for them. But I mean, to sort of think about some of the more modern groups that come together and sort of women only or various other oppressed groups, obviously it's quite different having an activist group and a group of people who haven't been represented getting together than it is to have a very old school sort of environment that's all men or all white people, or, you know, you take your pick from various, you know, variety of privileged groups.
Well, no, I totally disagree with the privileged group things. I mean, I've got friends of all my ethnics, you know. I've got friends from, you name the race, they're my friends, you know. I've got lots of friends that are gay. I'm not gay, I'm straight. I've got lots and lots of female friends, you know. What I think we've got to do is just get out on the streets and say to the youngsters, come and join this club. Break it down by just letting them know this isn't for a particular section of our society. Do you not agree with that, Holly?
Oh, I would agree with that. I mean, I think if it's... I mean, to be honest, actually, I've got to be honest, I don't think that the label Working Men's Club will necessarily... I mean, a lot of these old clubs, like, I think there's one near Hebden Bridge, is it called Trades Club? I don't know whether that's still got the tag Working Men's Club. I think that some of them you could do with taking that tag off it, because even if you say, oh, it's not just for men, if you've got that kind of hangover, I think it will put some people off, particularly women. But it very much depends on sort of what feedback you're getting from people and sort of who wants to go there.
Johnny, when you're working in one of these clubs, what is the kind of audience ratio of men and women? Women are allowed in these days, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, it's 50-50.
Yeah. Right.
There's not any more men than what there is women.
Right.
In fact, if it's an older audience, there'll be more women, because us guys die earlier.
And those old women, they can make a noise. I've performed in front of those. Man, they can be loud.
You don't want a hen party in the audience when you're working.
Holly, we should get you to go. We should get you to go to one of these clubs with Johnny and watch his sets. Would you be up for that?
Yeah. I literally live in Bristol, but if you could pay the travel, I will be there.
Holly, I've worked all over Bristol, Holly. I work all over the world.
Oh, right.
We will find out the next time he's near you, Holly, and we will get you two out.
Cool.
We'll give you a few quid. You can go out and have a drink together, and we'll see if we can sort this out. Holly, thank you very much for coming on.
Good. Thank you.
Johnny, you got any gigs coming up at the moment that people should be aware of?
Big show on Sunday at the Campus West Theatre in Wellingarn City that I've wrote and directed it, The House at Rock Blood. Lots of young people coming to that. Yep. I've also got people in their 60s and 70s coming along. We're trying to bridge the generation gap and say this is for everybody. They're all coming dressed up in their Gothic gear.
Are you going to dress up in your Gothic gear?
I will be there in the full gear. I've got it all. Top hat, tailcoat, the full lot,
Lovely.
The full Monty. Got a great singer to look out for. She's only young. She's 18 years old, by the name of Amelia Brown. She's a singer-songwriter. She's taking part in the show as well. So let's get the young people out and about.
Thank you for coming in. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you
Go back to bed now, young man.
Cheers.
It's Johnny Tate.
Text 81333. Start your message with 3CR. Text charged at the standard network rate.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, Iain Lee. Here until 9 o'clock. Lots coming up, including a new show starts tonight on Channel 4. It's called First Time Farmers. And have a guess. Yeah, it looks at the reality of life for the next generation of farmers. Well, a 19-year-old from Bedfordshire is one of the stars of the programme. She's called Bunny Sear, and I'll be speaking to her in about 15 minutes' time. And also find out why residents of the Wixhams in Bedfordshire are really angry about plans for a landfill site in the area. And I'm throwing a kids' party tomorrow. 3- and 1-year-olds. It seemed like such a good idea at the time. It's good. We've done the golden rule. The golden rule is, that I learnt this the hard way, is when you're throwing a kid's party, you say the start time, you say the finish time as well. So the invitation says party is from 3 till 5. That's it. It's then determined when it's finished. So at 5 o'clock you can say, well, thanks very much for coming. Here's your goodie bag. So I've got that. 08459 455 555. How do I survive this? I've really not thought this out well. Kate's in Harpenden. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning, Ian.
Have you got kids, and do you throw them parties?
No, I haven't. My brother's got 7, which is a ridiculous number of children.
Hang on, so he's got 7 children?
Yeah, I'm a professional auntie.
How many?
Well, that's what it feels like at Christmas, anyway.
What age are the kids?
They start at, I think, 3 or 4, and then they go up to the oldest one. Actually, 8, if the oldest one that doesn't live with him is 20 now, I think.
Wow,
but the oldest one who lived with them is 16.
That's expensive for you at Christmas, I'd imagine. Or do you just buy them one?
I'm not kidding.
Wowzers. What's your tip to survive this?
It's a what not to do more than anything. My brother's birthday is actually on the same day as me, 2 years apart. We always had our birthday parties shared. And one year my parents got us a magician called Miranda. Well, I think I was 8 and my brother was 10.
Sounds fantastic.
And one of Miranda's tricks was to push a 6-inch nail up her nose.
It was actually a lady, Miranda. Pushing a 6-inch nail up her nose?
And the one thing you should never do with a room full of 8 to 10-year-olds is show them that it's possible to put a 6-inch nail up your nose. As it turns out, not that difficult, but not something I would recommend.
You didn't have a go, did you?
We all did. We all did, of course we did. And it's really not that difficult, but you have to relax your nasal cavity.
Hang on a minute. Whoa. Don't try this at home, kids, but I'm kind of thinking, have we got a 6-inch nail that's been sterilised in the building? I'm up for that. So
exactly.
Everyone did it. So because I would have thought, you're saying that they'd just been shoving raisins or bits of cheese sandwich up there, but the kids actually went for the nail.
Yeah, I mean, she did it, and then afterwards we were like, oh, that must be possible then. So we all got the nails out. Luckily, nobody caused themselves any injury.
Yeah, I don't want any of the kids this weekend to be rushed to A&E. That I really want to avoid that as much as I can.
No, and good luck with the clearing up the house afterwards, because it's all very well saying a 2-hour party, but I would imagine that half a dozen, even 1 to 3-year-olds, your house will look like a nuclear holocaust has been through it.
Kate, thank you very much indeed. Yes, no, don't show kids how to show. We're always trying to stop kids from putting things up their nose. Raisins. I remember my nephew Dylan got a raisin up his nose. And was it up his nose or up his ear? No, it was up his nose. And he was in really bad pain. And my sister had to literally pin him down and hold his head between her knees and get some tweezers to pull this. And he was going mental. She said, right, listen, it's either this or we go to A&E. No, he did have to go. I remember he did go to hospital once because he was going a bit deaf. Okay, and apparently it's quite common in young boys of a certain age. They get quite a lot of wax build up. I know, not very glamorous. So they went to the hospital and his ears were syringed and I think he had a bit more done to him and stuff. And not only did a load of wax come out, piece of Lego was in his ear. It had been in there for months. It was really it was buried deep. How gross is that? Can kids appreciate magicians? Because kids don't have a basic grasp of physics, do they? So they don't know if something's amazing or not. Oh, look, he made that disappear, yeah? And? I don't know how science works. Why would that impress me? Karen from Welwyn Garden City has texted in, 81333, starting her text 3CR. Kids party, ride on toys and those small indoor slides. Small kiddies inflatable bouncy castle. I think I've left it too late for all of this, though, Karen. Table with Play-Doh. Musical chairs. I got some, and at my daughter's second birthday, we got my nan and mum dressed up as Lala and Poe from the Teletubbies. My oldest was, thank you for that, Karen. My oldest, yesterday, was saying, yeah, Daddy, I'm going to invite Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse to my birthday party. It's like, right. Do you think they'll come? I think they might be busy. No, I want them to come, otherwise I'm going to be really upset. There's going to be tears. There's going to be tears.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, how would you feel if you moved into a gorgeous area and then weeks later you found out that a landfill could be built on your doorstep. Well, that's what's happened to Zaina Herbert, who moved to Wixham's last month. She's amongst hundreds of people who are objecting to plans for a waste management facility at the old clay pits just south of Bedford. Well, Zaina's on the phone now. Morning, Zaina.
Oh, good morning, Ian.
Did you know about the landfill and waste management plans before you moved in?
No, not at all. The searches that I had done didn't show anything at all about the proposal, and its boundary is 30 metres from the nearest house.
Ouch.
30 metres!
So, how long have you been there, and how long after moving in did you find out that this was being proposed?
I found out just before I moved in. I found out possibly the middle of November, and of course I joined the objections then, but I didn't move in until mid-December.
Okay, so contracts had been signed up and you were committed to it then?
I was committed.
How did that make you feel?
I felt dreadful. I felt it had been underhand, that there'd been some deceit somewhere, and had I known about it, I don't think I would have continued with the purchase.
So it's so important to you that had you had the opportunity, you wouldn't have moved there?
Well, that's right. They say that the site will process almost 250,000 tonnes of agricultural waste, but they don't say if that's green waste or animal excrement. Now, if it's animal poo, the stench is going to be horrendous, and possibly even beyond control. I know the people who are proposing this site, FCC, have a site at Dorset Head in Nottinghamshire, and that has many complaints about ongoing unbearable smells. The houses have heat exchange units that bring in the outside air. So the stink of the slurry would just fill every single room and be inescapable. Well, who wants to live with that?
Supposing, Zaina, it wasn't animal waste, so you didn't have that smell. Would that be better?
I think even with green waste you get smell, and the amount of rubbish they're speaking of processing there, and the litter. And the other thing I'm concerned about is the possibility of flooding. We have 2 lakes that are natural runoffs and water basins. The proposal says they're going to drain these lakes and fill the space and install extra drainage. Well, that sounds fine, but extra drainage to where? If the lakes are filled and built over, what happens to the water that feeds them? You know, I've lived in an area where the water authorities installed extra drainage and it raised the water table. If the lakes are drained, I think it's inevitable that the water table will rise in an area already prone to flooding. Apart from the dangers, it might cause residents problems with house insurance.
Zaina, why did you choose to move to Wixham's?
I think it's the leading example in this country of what new housing development can achieve. It's a big and ambitious plan, only about 5,500 houses, schools, public amenities, a railway station. It's very peaceful, it's built with a lot of sympathy. There's been 10 years of investment by Gallagher's, who are the master developers. It's a friendly place, it's very clean. It's just delightful. I love being there.
I drove past it the other day and it looks fantastic. But do you think it's realistic that you and the other people living there can be successful in your fight against these plans?
Yes, I do. I think last week, in fact I heard him myself, the Prime Minister and his deputy stated that building new and affordable houses is a government priority, a top priority. And this week the Housing Minister, Mr Bowles, said that new housing stock is essential, even if they have to build on greenfield sites. Now, as you know, Wixham has been developed on a brownfield site, which is the better solution. I think if the proposal is accepted, it will be a gross betrayal of everyone who's invested in Wixham's. Gallagher's have been working on it 10 years, you know.
But the coalition say that they of course they want to build more homes, but they've done that with Wixham's. The building of this waste plant doesn't doesn't change the fact that they've built these homes. So they have ticked their box, haven't they?
Well, not really. It's for 4 separate villages with about, as I said, 5,500 homes. Only one of the villages is completed at the moment. I've heard that new buyers are very reluctant to commit until the landfill question is solved. Now, if people don't buy, the progress will slow down and it might stop altogether. That means no more schools. There's already one school built there. No public amenities and shopping centres. No railway station.
Zaina, really interesting talking to you. Zaina Herbert there from Wixham's. Well, FCC Environment, the people behind the plans, weren't available this morning. They gave us a statement which says, our plans to develop an integrated waste management plant at Elstow South are designed to provide a much-needed facility to treat commercial and industrial waste sourced from the local region. Our plans provide a suitable method of treating waste in a suitable manner.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, we've been talking about working men's clubs all morning. They're closing. There's half what there used to be across the whole country. In the 70s, about 4,000. Now, about 2,000. And they're struggling. David's in Bedford. Morning, David.
Morning, Ian.
Do you go to a working men's club?
No, and I haven't for a good few years because of the quality of them and trying to get membership in some of them as well.
Well, let's talk about the membership first. Why is that so difficult?
Is that they were so popular, and then all of a sudden it's just faded down, and they've gradually closed and closed and closed. But
they'd be begging you to join now, David.
Oh yeah, but the reason is that they haven't moved on as well.
Right.
In trying to attract people to it, they need to do some marketing on it.
So what's wrong with them? What's the thing that's stopping you from going back?
Me, one is I don't drink, and so that puts it out of it for me. But I'm not interested in that type of life at the moment.
What about the entertainment? Would it be nice to go and meet your mates, wouldn't it, and watch a show?
Oh yeah, if it's a decent show, but it's the way the place is set out. It's still feeling as if it's for the elderly.
And how old are you, David?
I'm 56.
So you're still a young man?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is more those in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And they should use the name just as it is, the Central Club. Then people might become members if it was revamped by revamping it all out and bringing it up to date a bit, may get some of the younger people coming in.
Last time I went to one, and this wasn't for social reasons, it was about 4 years, it must have been 4 years ago, 3 years ago, because we went there for a baby class, bizarrely, in the daytime. They kind of hide it out. And it was a great building in North London, but it looked like it was stuck in 1976. The decor was really old-fashioned, the bar looked really old-fashioned. Did you think that's part of the problem?
Yeah. It's still, I would say it's still in the 70s. Or when it was built and not moved on and not looked at what the people are wanting, what the communities are wanting.
All right, David, I'm going to go through some acts. Tell me if this would draw you there. A really good raunchy blue comedian?
No.
A Beatles tribute band?
Possibly, yeah.
A stripper?
No.
A transvestite?
Definitely not.
A magician?
It depends on who it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. David, listen, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate that. 08459 455 555. I took my son to see a transvestite nun singing songs from the musicals. I know. I know. He was the children's entertainer. And my boy was absolutely terrified. It's a shame, because I enjoyed it. I thought she was fantastic. Now, if you watch First Time Farmers tonight on Channel 4, you'll see a 19-year-old from Woburn Sands. Bunny Sear is one of the stars of the programme, which looks at the realities of life for the next generation of farmers. She joins me on the line now. Morning, Bunny.
Hi, morning, Ian.
You're 19, you're a young lady. Why on earth would you want to be a farmer?
Well, why not? My grandfather was a farmer, and it's what I grew up sort of on his farm in summers, so I don't know, it's just stuck with me, really.
Did you enjoy it growing up and helping out your granddad?
Yeah, I loved it. He farmed in Australia, so it was something a little bit different for me.
See, suddenly, that sounds a lot more attractive. You've seen how cold it is this morning, Bunny?
Yeah, I have. I'm looking out my window now, actually, at uni. I'm not quite convinced it's time to get up yet.
But hang on a minute, that's not a farming attitude. If you were a farmer, you'd be up at, like, I don't know, 3:30 to tend yonder cows or something. I don't really know what farmers do, if I'm honest, Bunny, but it would be hard work and you'd be out in the cold a lot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. The early mornings and the cold don't really bother me. If you really enjoy something, then I guess you just sort of, those sort of things don't faze you.
Well, farmers have been having a tough time lately with the bad weather and with the financial situations. Does it not put you off? It doesn't seem to me that you're going to be able to make much money. It's going to be a constant slog, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult financial situation, I think, for a lot of businesses right now. But, if you really love something and you're committed to it, I think there's no reason you shouldn't be able to give it a shot.
You're on the telly tonight, First Time Farmers, Channel 4. How did you get involved with that?
They actually came to my university and sort of picked people at random. which was interesting.
Now, listen, I've not seen the picture of you, so I don't know, so don't take this wrong way. When you say pick them at random, or did they just pick, like, buff young male farmers and hot young female farmers?
I wouldn't like to comment. Are
all the men a bit dishy in it?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, you see. So I'm thinking they picked it to make pick people to make farming look a little bit sexy.
Well, I think if you Google it, you might find some topless pictures of the boys, and so I'll leave it up to you to make your judgments there.
Oh, Bunny, thank you very much indeed. I shall have a little look at that. What's your best farming thing you can do?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm really quite proud of the fact that I did harvest this year. Like, I felt like that, put me up a level.
Yeah.
It was quite fun.
When you say you did harvest, what, you drove the combine harvester and stuff?
Oh no, I just drove the tractor and the trailer and carted the grain from the field to the store.
What's your record for milking a cow? How quick?
Oh, never worked with cows.
You've never worked with cows?
No, just sheep for me.
Oh, can you milk a sheep? You can, can't you?
I don't know. I can shear a sheep.
What's the quickest you can shear a sheep?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't know. I'm quite slow at it, but I've got my British Wool Association Blue Seal Award.
And what does that mean exactly?
That means you could do 3 sheep in half an hour. It's like the most basic one.
Well, you say basic. It sounds pretty impressive to me. Do you know? Have you seen the show tonight? How do you come across on it?
I'm actually in the 3rd episode. I'm pretty happy with how I come across. I hope I come across well. I mean, I think I'm a nice person, so...
Buddy, I'm sure you are. Listen, thank you very much for coming on. We look forward to seeing you on the show. That's Bunny Sear, who's one of the stars of First Time Farmers on Channel 4. It starts tonight. She's in episode 3. She's 19, and I have Googled it, and there are topless pictures of the male farmers, and they are buff. There's no denying it. Well, we can go to our crop rotation correspondent, Justin Dealey, who's been out with the cows near Luton. Morning, Justin.
Yes, Ian, that is me. My top is off this morning as well.
Oh, please.
To you.
No, put that back on, please. We don't need to see that, not in this cold weather.
Yes, well, I've been on the farm this morning. I've been to the Pepsel End Farm in Pepperstock. I've been talking to Jimmy Spears. Now, he is young, and he loves working on the farm. We spoke earlier, and this is what happened. So, Jimmy, that noise is the milking machine. You're currently milking this cow here. What type of cow is that?
That's a Holstein Friesian heifer. We're just, she's had a calf, but we've taken it off her and we're just milking her to keep the milk on her until we sell her for a dairy farm.
We'll come to the milking process in just a second. You're 21 years old. You've just left college. Why are you so excited about becoming a full-time farmer?
I think it's good. It's a good opportunity for young people, and I think it's just a good varied job, which... from day to day it always changes, so it's always quite exciting. You never really know what you're going to do, and also I like working with the animals. It's a bit unpredictable, but it's quite rewarding as well. When you have calves and things like that, it's really rewarding.
I know you say day to day it changes, but just describe your typical day. For argument's sake, today, what are you doing?
Okay, so Friday is a busy day on the farm. We've got a lot of stock work to do for the weekend, so we'll feed in the morning. We'll put out all the silage and the grub for all the cattle, and then we'll do some strawing up, make sure they've got enough bedding for the weekend, and then in the afternoon we'll feed the calves and that sort of stuff. And hopefully we might have a few calving today, so we'll sort them out.
And your hours as well, how bad are they?
They're not too bad at this time of year. We start at 7:30, finish at about 5. But in the summer, we can be working sort of 16, 17, 18-hour days, which is pretty tough.
None of your friends have got any interest in farming whatsoever. How do we encourage more young people like you to take up a career in farming?
Well, it's a difficult one, I think, because young people like myself, if they're from the town, they've sort of got fairly comfortable lifestyle, and I think they see the hours that we're working on the farm, and it sort of puts them off a little bit. And the unpredictability of the job, I suppose. They never seem that keen, but there are job opportunities out there for young people.
And you're saying it's a great job, go and enjoy it. Have you been practising your ooar?
Yeah, I've got a good ooar.
Oh, come on then, let's hear it.
Ooar!
Well, that was very, very impressive. So, to the milking machine. It's quite simple, it looks quite simple. I'm sure you're going to tell me that's not the case, but instead of doing it manually, how does this machine work briefly?
Okay, so basically it's vacuum, it's worked on a vacuum, and we put the clusters onto the teats of the udder of the cow, and then it basically sucks out the milk from her udder.
So this lovely cow here, how much milk will you get from this cow?
She's giving about between 15 and 20 litres in the morning, and when she goes to a dairy farm, they'll milk her twice a day, and she might give 30 litres a day, 40 litres a day.
It sounds absolutely fantastic. As you mentioned earlier on, your advice would be to look into this seriously, because it is going to be a good career for you. And just lastly, a word on these young farmers' parties. They're absolutely outrageous, aren't they?
So I've heard. I've heard they can get slightly, or a little bit loose with the old young farmers' parties. So I'm not a young farmer at the moment. I was though, but I know a few people, and they get pretty crazy.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Justin.
Refreshing to hear that. Jimmy Spears, they're 21 years old this morning on the Pepsell End farm. He's young and he is looking forward to his career in farming.
Would you ever be a farmer, Justin, getting your hands dirty, the muck of the land, fondling cows?
You see, it looks lovely. The animals were absolutely gorgeous this morning, but I'm not into manual work. You know, I get very, very tired very, very quickly. I would much prefer to talk for a living instead of doing anything manually, let's say.
Also, those ladies' blouses that you wear would just get ruined, wouldn't they?
Come on, let's not talk about what's going to be happening this weekend. That's a weekend thing only, Ian. Come on.
I've been obsessed with cross-dressing this show. I'm not quite sure how that's been the thing. And I like the idea of farming, being one with nature, but it's very stinky and it's very dirty, isn't it?
But it's nice. Come on, when you go to these farms this morning,
yep.
you go in, you go through the doors, and you take a deep breath. Beautiful. That is the smell of the countryside.
My dad, when we used to drive through the countryside, and we were kids, he'd say, wind down the window, and it would stink of, manure. Take a deep breath. Yeah. That's the countryside. Well, if that's the countryside, you can keep it. It stinks of poo.
No, it's nice. It's a nice smell. And thankfully in Beds, Hearts and Bucks, we've got loads of countryside, and rightly so, it's very, very enjoyable.
Justin, I know what aftershave to get you for your birthday. Justin Dealey, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Lots coming up. The last hour of the week. The weekend starts in about 57 minutes when David Prever comes in. Last day of David Prever. Jonathan Vernon-Smith is back on Monday. He was posting pictures on his Facebook page of his last Argentinian beer. It's very sad. He'll be feisty, though. He's been away for 3 weeks. He'll be feisty. He's back next week. David's on at 9. In the last hour of this show, though, lots of things. And as always, it'll be good to get your say on some of them. Some of the things coming up, including... 2 men have been convicted of murdering 2 teenagers who were shot in a drug-turf row in Milton Keynes. I'll be speaking to MP Mark Lancaster to discuss what impact their deaths have had on Fishermead. The scale of sexual offending carried out by Jimmy Savile will be set out in a joint report today. We'll be previewing exactly what that report is expected to reveal. And what would make you go to a working men's club? An investigation by this programme has revealed clubs in Beds, Hearts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. Danny Glass, a club singer from Luton, will be joining me in the studio to sing us out at the end of the show. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can see a picture with me and Johnny, the comedian that came in earlier. You can text 81333, starting your text 3CR, or give us a call. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Two men have been found guilty of murdering 2 Somali teenagers in Milton Keynes in a dispute over drugs. Mohammed Farah and Amin Ahmed Ismail were shot dead in an alleyway in Fishermead. Fouad Awali and Shamake Abdul Qadir have been found guilty by jury at Luton Crown Court. They'll be sentenced later on today. A third man, Yahya Haroun, has been found not guilty. His barrister, Kerin Fouad QC, spoke to our reporter Jessica Cooper outside court and gave his reaction.
Well, a great deal of, I think, relief. He's extremely relieved and shocked. His mother hasn't stopped crying. And it's obviously a fantastic result for him and his family. An acquittal of double murder has perhaps its own logical relief that comes with it.
How is Yahya Haroun at the moment? Because, as you say, he could have been going down into the docks this afternoon and going to prison for a long time. Instead, he's going to be out and acquitted.
I can't express any personal view, unfortunately, but he certainly, as I'm sure you saw, he was in a state of shock, and that state of shock remained when I last saw him as he was just preparing to be released and be reunited with his mother a few moments ago.
But what impact has this case had on the local community? Our reporter, Tony Fisher, has been speaking to the community in Fishermead.
What's the community like around here? Does it feel pretty safe following the shootings?
This part of Fishermead is quiet and never get any trouble. Yeah, you get into the part where all the townhouses are and the main boulevard and going off towards the escape. When you get to that part of Fishermead, it's run down. It really needs knocking down and starting again. It is bad up there. It is bad.
And the multiple tenancy is just out of order. If you've got like 10 youths all living in one 4-bedroom house.
I've always been very aware of the fact that there's a lot of crime, particularly around this part of the world, and I'm afraid I'll get into trouble because I think it emanates from the immigrant populations that causes most of the trouble. Most of the estate here is very, very good. It's only certain areas, you know. Don't condemn the whole estate.
Do you worry for the future of your children living on this estate?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main priority. I'm quite worried about that. If such a thing, I'm even planning to move out of this community because we think it's not safe anymore if such a thing is happening.
Acting Inspector Andrew Hanlon. I'm working on the South Neighbourhood team in Milton Keynes. I cover the Fishermead estate as well as the south of the whole of Milton Keynes. Initially there was obviously a huge impact from what had taken place, but since then we've moved on well, the community's moved on well. We've gotten some engagement officers to allow us to work with the Somali community better. Recently we've run a local operation here as well to try and reduce violence and drug offences, and I'm pleased to say drug offences and violence are down by over 20% this year.
So that's as a result of the work you've been doing with the community?
Yes, we've been working with the residents, as I said, and the parish, who's supported us with funding as well, and with the extra patrols and the work that's gone on, we've had a good impact on the estate, I believe.
I'm Seth Tallock and I'm Milton Keynes councillor and I represent Fishermead. There's been nothing like that in the 30, 40 years since the estate was built, and obviously it does take you aback, particularly as, you know, the huge interest that was taken by the media and the fact that in a small section of the estate there was considerable police interest for some time. I mean, it's the sort of thing that people don't expect to happen on their doorstep, and I guess don't expect to happen again on their doorstep.
So do you think the community has come to terms with what's happened?
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. The particular issue we're talking about was something within the Somali community, and there were particular concerns there, but I think generally great efforts have been made by everybody to ensure that everybody on Fishermead gets on well.
Thank you very much, Tony Fisher, our reporter there. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number, and we'll be talking more about that later on.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yep. We did some of the papers. Shall we have a look at the rest before I get your tips on how I can survive a birthday party for some children tomorrow? The Daily Mail. Enough to make you shudder. Temperatures set for sudden plunge to minus 10 degrees as average heating bill for the elderly soars to 1,350. Pensioners will suffer a double blow today with the arrival of freezing weather and news that their energy bills have doubled in 7 years. Well, hang on, that's happening to all of us, isn't it? It's not just happening to the elderly, but it's just them getting cold and having expensive bills. No, it's happening to everybody. And there's Adele. I don't know what she's done. The Daily Express. Pension relief for millions. Government scraps plans to hit savings. Pensioners yesterday received a huge boost as government experts decided against meddling with the way retirement payments are calculated. And there's Adele again. Probably done something. The Sun. Sicko shave my Shih Tzu. It's the front page of a newspaper. That's the front page of Britain's biggest selling newspaper. Right? Sicko shaved my Shih Tzu. They have a picture of before and after. The eyes have been blacked out of the dog, so we don't know who the dog is. A jealous boyfriend hit back at his ex by shaving a Shih Tzu she planned to enter at Crufts. Sick Rob Davey, 26, used clippers on Zoe Ashman's prize pet because he thought she was lying to him, a court heard. Oh, here we go. It's local. She returned home in Hertford, Herts, to find large amounts of dog hair by the continued on page 6. Well, we will continue. Oh, look, Destiny's Child are back together. That's good news, isn't it? Page 6, where is it? Sinking and the mutt minus its coat. Self-employed Davey had also scrawled the words liar across wall's door and a fridge. He struck after spending the night at Miss Ashman's house despite the couple having split up weeks earlier. Next day, while still in the home, he called Miss Ashman, 36, to ask where she was. She said she had gone to work, but David didn't believe her. He took his anger out on the Shih Tzu he knew she had groomed for the famous dog show. I'm going to read the whole story. Magistrate Nicholas Moss told him, "You don't treat other people's property, including a harmless pet, in this fashion. It's absolutely abominable. You should be ashamed." He was ordered to pay £2,000 compensation and given a 12-month community order. Davey, who represented himself in court, said, "Yeah, I agree. I overreacted on a large scale. My defence is, I don't like being lied to. I'm deeply apologetic. Most of my convictions are down to alcoholism." You just read those last two sentences again. I'm deeply apologetic. Most of my convictions are down to alcoholism. It's front page of Britain's biggest selling newspaper. Are you joking? When did The Sun give up? No, I quite like The Sun. It's a bit of froth. It's a bit light-hearted. When did they give up telling you news? For goodness sakes. Grace. Oh, it's Grace, one of the Strictly kids from Stevenage. Morning, Grace.
Hi.
Now, Grace, you were, for those who don't know, and new listeners, listening all the time, you were one of our Strictly Come Dancing correspondents. Since that show ended, you've been made unemployed. How does it feel being on the scrap heap at 10 years old?
It's fine.
You sure you can cope with it, Grace?
Yeah.
There might be a comeback. You might have a big showbiz comeback. You never know.
Yay.
You never know. So, Grace, the parties. Tell me about what I can do at the kids' parties.
Well, there's this game that you can play. That's called Disappearing Hedgehogs.
Excuse me? Disappearing hedgehogs?
Yes, you have to ask all the kids to kneel down like hedgehogs.
Yeah.
And tell them to pretend to be asleep, and then put a blanket over one of the children, and then they have to wake up and guess who was missing.
Now, that's not a bad idea, actually. The thing is, what's great is kids go bonkers, okay? But they do like games where they have to pretend to be asleep. Sleeping bunnies, of course, is a good one. Sleeping lions is another one. And now I've got the disappearing hedgehog. Grace, do you think... what can I do? I'm worried that at the end of this... It's been a busy week. It's been a stressful week. It's been an emotional week for me. I'm worried at the end of this party tomorrow, I'm going to be absolutely shattered. Have you got any tips for me, Grace, on how I can survive this?
Listen to Elmo and I Know It.
Listen to what?
Elmo and I Know It.
What's that?
It's Elmo's version of Sexy and I Know It.
What, Elmo from Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, Grace, I'll listen to that. I'll try anything. I'm desperate. Grace, thank you very much. See you later on. Take care. Bye-bye. There we go. There was a bye. I faded out on the bye. That's how we do it. 08459 455 555. I think the kids' entertainment's going to be sorted. We just give them a load of fizzy pop, load of Haribo, and some games, play some music, I don't know. I'm more worried about how I'm going to survive this party tomorrow. 3 till 5. I'm a little bit concerned. If there are any parents out there who've been through this hell, 08459 455 555. To the travel news now, here's Sophie Tyler.
Beds, Herts and Bucks travel.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
This is what Sophie Tyler sounds like. Yeah, we're not going to that, for goodness sakes. David, you got any travel news you can tell us? We've lost Sophie.
Yeah, very, very busy coming into the building because a man is delivering some milk.
Okay, well, hopefully
that's it.
That's helpful. I wonder if the real Sophie Tyler is there now. Sophie, no, that's what she sounds like. Sophie's gone. I tell you what, let me do the headlines, and maybe we'll get back to Sophie a bit later on. Or maybe we'll... I don't know. It's one of those mornings. Now it's a rare treat for all of us. You get to hear my producer, Laura, putting on her posh voice and having a pop at the travel. Let's see what happens. Laura,
There's actually quite good news for people out and about on the roads in the three counties this morning. However, if there's something that we haven't reported and I've missed, because this is only my third time doing the travel news in the last couple of months, do give us a call on 08459 455 555. That's 08459
Oh, for goodness sakes, Laura.
555. I can continue talking.
Why don't you do your posh voice normally? Speak in your normal common voice. Go on.
No.
She's right not to.
BBC
Thank you, Laura.
Three Counties Radio.
David Prever, your last day.
Right, now then, this party of yours. What can I tell you?
Yeah, you're not invited.
I thought I was coming.
You can come if you want. Of course you can. You've been there. You've done this. I've got a 3-year-old
and 2, yeah.
and a 1-year-old, so it's kind of the same thing. I'm dreading it, to be honest.
Well, there's two things. One is outsourcing. You outsource everything.
Right. Okay.
So you're not responsible.
That's not bad.
The grandmother's advice earlier was very good.
Yeah, she's coming.
And the other thing is you need to show that you are at least involved, so that your wife will think that you've done something. Take responsibility for the parents. That's what I always do.
Hey!
Take responsibility for the parents. You go out, you buy all the papers for them.
Yeah.
Coffees, a few little snacks, make them a sandwich or two. And then you look up, and they'll all come in, oh, hello, Ian, saw you on the television, you can do the whole, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All that. And they want to talk to you about work, and then you will have had a lovely time.
We obviously have to give out goodie bags, party bags. Should a signed photo, would that be?
Definitely a signed photo.
Would that be appropriate?
Yeah,
I'll do that. I'll slip that in there. It's excellent. What's on your show this morning,
use
David?
everything as a marketing opportunity. Everything is... You don't know who'll be there.
Who knows?
You'll never know who'll be there.
Yeah, one of those kids in 30 years' time could be a TV executive. I could be back.
Well, at my boy's 4th party, which I was quite looking forward to, but I was chatting to the parents, and I was shoved in the corner with some father. Oh, he's quite dull. I said to him, "What do you do for him?" He said, "Oh, I work in television." My ears pricked up like that.
Hello, sir. Can I shake your hand?
Exactly. Lovely time we had.
What's happening on yours today?
Is it ever safe to gamble? Campaigners are urging the government to ban high-stakes casino-style gambling machines. You a gambler? I know nothing about it. Nothing at all.
Maybe twice a year I will go to a casino and spend £100 on roulette.
Well, these machines apparently are a big problem. Labour MP for Luton North, Kelvin Hopkins, told the Commons yesterday it's a serious problem. The government say, well, yeah, there's a lot of revenue in it for us, though, so we're asking, is it ever safe to gamble after 9 o'clock this morning?
We're talking about working men's clubs today, and we had a fellow who runs one of the clubs. He was saying about 10 years ago, the slot machines...
I heard that. 50 grand a year. Unbelievable, eh?
That's incredible.
Extraordinary, yeah.
Okay. David,
good stuff.
Look forward to that. If you want to get in touch with... thank you very much, and you. If you want to get in touch with David, send him an email. jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Put your phone number and what you want to say, and the team may get back in touch with you.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Working men's clubs across beds, hearts and bucks are facing financial crisis. The Working Men's Club and Institutions Union says that nationally, the number of clubs has slumped from around 4,000 in the 1970s to around just about 2,000 now. One club in Bedford, the Bedford Central Club, is facing hard times and will have to close its doors next month unless they find another club to save them. Our reporter, Sophie Solaria, has been down to Dunstable Conservative Club, another local club that's struggling to survive.
Cheers.
So, how long have you been coming to Dunstable Conservative Club?
Well, as long as been able to drink, virtually, yes. On and off about, say, 40 years.
74 I joined, and it's very, very strict.
Tell me what you had to wear, Peter.
A tie, at least.
I feel underdressed.
Well, let's put it this way, in them days you wouldn't have got in here with a pair of jeans on.
No, no way. Jeans you had to be dressed properly.
How busy was it in here?
Very busy. Very.
So this section that you're sitting on now, just around the second bar, I think, in the club, there's, about half a dozen of you. Would you have been able to have got a seat here in the corner?
No, would not, no.
No, not then, because
no, in those days it was a lot of old age pensioners in here. Sadly, most of them have passed on.
What about the younger generation, though? Are they coming through the door?
Not really, no. The youngsters today are not club orientated.
You ain't got no youngsters, you ain't got no future.
How are you going to get them through the door?
Now that I would not know.
That's $1 million
question. The young people are the future.
Yes, it's like the modern shopping centres. If you haven't got younger people shopping in your local community, the community dies and they're shopping online. What's the answer? I don't know.
Well, we do have entertainments on Saturdays.
You have entertainment? What kind of entertainment do you have?
All sorts of entertainments in that front bar. We get singers in there. We have had discos, but I love our discos, but we do have them now and again.
Yeah?
Not all that often. And you do the bingo, George? Oh, yes, I do the bingo on a Friday night.
Bingo on a Friday? That should get them in, shouldn't it?
There's no buses down at night time.
You can't get buses down. So you can't get the older people out at night.
You can't get down.
So you need some buses here, some local transport, getting people in, getting those doors open.
Yes.
will happen if you can't get that younger generation through those doors?
Well, it'll eventually die, won't it?
It died. Every big company had their own social club years ago, and they were all well attended. Now the big companies have gone out of Dunstable, and there's only about 3 clubs left in Dunstable.
That was Sophie Solaria there in the Dunstable Conservative Club. With us now, Ruth Charrington, club historian and author of not just Beer and Bingo, a social history of working men's clubs. Morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
You were brought up in the club scene. You've been going since you were a child in the 60s. When do you think they sort of started to go downhill a bit?
Well, I think things started to go wrong probably back in the 70s, you know, when they were at their heyday. Young people, as mentioned in your report just now, young people were already starting to turn away from clubs then. And then, of course, the 70s and the 80s, we saw economic downturns and unemployment and the closure of a lot of major industries up and down the country. So really, the rot started to set in way back then.
As a woman in the club environment, did you feel a bit out of place? Did it feel like it was exclusively for men?
Well, the club that I went to, I'm from Coventry, and I think a lot of the post-war clubs were more welcoming to women than perhaps some of the older ones. Women were allowed into many clubs and were allowed to be lady members, but not with full rights. But I must admit, when I was a child, I did ask my dad, you know, why aren't the women allowed to play on the snooker tables and the billiards tables, and we could watch and sit around.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you know.
Good for you.
It was fun, but, you know, there were certain things you couldn't do, and of course, back in those days, women were not allowed to be on the committees, so all the committee were men only. But that did start to change, probably back in the 70s and 80s, so now you do see a lot more women in actively helping to run clubs as well as, you know, be members as well.
A lot of the clubs on the inside, they look a bit 70s, don't they? I was saying I went to one a few years ago, not for a social night, for something completely different, and I had a good look around, and it looked like the 70s in there. Why would someone under the age of 30 want to go to that?
Well, that's a big point, isn't it? Of course, a lot of clubs, you see, did renovate and refurbish back in the 60s and 70s. So, of course, you know, there were state-of-the-art concert rooms and games rooms back then. But because of the decline and declining numbers, they haven't been able to keep up with the times. You know, it's a lot of money to spend doing them all up again. So, yeah, the inside of clubs can be off-putting to younger generation. But then again, you know, there is one appeal would be to make these quite authentic retro scenes, you know, and attract perhaps like my generation, you know, in the sort of 40s, 50s and so on, who might go in. And that's not solving the youth problem, I know. But, you know, some clubs are actually marketing that, you know, that they are sort of like quite retro venues. So it's not all a downside.
You've started a website called Club Historians where people come to you with their club stories. What are people saying to you about the demise of their working men's clubs and the whole scene? Yeah, pretty much the sort of things that that it was just reported in the previous commentary there. You know, the thing that not getting young people in, that, you know, a lot of industries moved out, people haven't got the same type of jobs anymore, they're not in full-time work probably, and also, you know, that there are simply a lot more things on offer these days. You know, back in the 1950s and 60s, there was only one TV channel to watch, there was no internet, you know, there wasn't a lot to do at home for entertainment, and really the club, in many places, that was where you went, that was the main social life. But these days, you know, even if you haven't got a lot of money, there's still quite a lot on offer to do. And people will go to the gym and dance classes and what have you. So, you know, there's a lot more things for people to do out there, and the club has lost that centralness. Ruth, listen, we have to leave it there. Ruth Charrington, if you want to check her website out, www.clubhistorians.co.uk. Coming up before the end of the show, we've got a legend from the Luton circuit. Mr. Danny Glass is on the show to sing us out. Looking forward to that, indeed. We're covering all the topics this morning. Some of them quite light-hearted, like the club scene there, and some of them a little bit more serious, like this. 2 men have been found guilty of murdering 2 Somali teenagers in Milton Keynes in a dispute over drugs. Mohammed Farah and Amin Ahmed Ismail were shot dead in an alleyway in Fishermead. Fouad Awali and Shamake Abdul Qadir have been found guilty by a jury at Luton Crown Court. The MP for Milton Keynes North is Mark Lancaster. He joins us now. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
What's your reaction following this trial?
Well, I think it will bring some sense of closure to the family, and at the time I was involved with the family, and of course there was great shock and despair in the community. So to see justice be given is a good thing, a good end to what has been a very sad series of events.
Well, you mentioned the community. It took place in Fishermead. What impact did their deaths have on the area?
Well, it did have a big impact. It's always a great shock. I mean, Fishermead's a fantastic community. It's a very diverse community. I spend quite a lot of time there, and they're really good people. I've been working very closely, for example, with the Somali community to try and get the drug cat, which is chewed by the Somali community, classified, and that's hopefully just about to come to an end probably in the next couple of weeks when the government should receive recommendations. But there's all sorts of projects going on in Fishermead which are helping to bring the community together after this event. Of course, we also had a tragic death there in a fire in a house in multiple occupancy a couple of years ago as well, which has caused some concern within the community as well. So it's been a series of unfortunate events, but actually the community is bouncing back, and I'm confident that the future is going to be bright for Fishermead.
We'll leave it on that positive note. Mark Lancaster, the MP for Milton Keynes North, talking about Fishermead. Thank you very much for that terrible story. So it's good to end it on a slightly upbeat note, if that's at all possible.
And that's your latest news in sport. More from me at 9 o'clock.
Kevin, I don't know a lot about football. Just to clarify, when you say put the ball in the back of the net, that means
score a goal.
Score a goal. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, we don't want that.
So
we want
it's
that.
raw
We
they
want
kind
that.
of just grab one.
We want that.
The BBC.
Dearie
Beds,
me.
Hearts and Bucks.
What a mess.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
If someone can fix the computer for me, please. It seems to be broken. I've got no idea what's going on. It's nothing to do with me whatsoever. Now, the police lots coming up in the last half hour of the show, by the way. I should just let you know that we'll be talking about the scale of sexual offending carried out by Jimmy Savile and what would make you go to a working men's club. An investigation by this programme has revealed that clubs in Beds, Hearts and Bucks are facing financial crisis. We've got Danny Glass, a club singer from Luton, who's going to be joining me in the studio later on. Now, the police will reveal the full extent of the sexual offending carried out by Jimmy Savile in a report published later this morning. Hundreds of people have come forward to say they were abused by the late television presenter, many on BBC premises. The report is also expected to say that Savile's abuse extended to many hospitals and a hospice. Well, our reporter Simon Thompson joins me now. Good morning, Simon.
Hi, Ian. Good
What's
morning.
expected to be in this report today?
Well, Jimmy Savile died in October 2007, the night of the realm, aged 84. The allegations about him being a paedophile only emerged about a year after his death in that now rather famous ITV documentary in October last year. And then very quickly, victims began coming forwards. The police launched an investigation. Detectives were prompted to describe Savile as one of the worst predatory sex offenders they'd come across. By December last year, the police had recorded almost 200 allegations against him, including 31 alleged rapes. Now, today's report is called Giving Victims a Voice. It's expected to show that Savile carried out a large number of sexual assaults on BBC premises, including Television Centre, where, of course, he fronted Jim Will Fix It for many years, and other programmes. About a dozen hospitals are also believed to have been identified by victims as locations for alleged abuse. At least one allegation has been made that Savile sexually assaulted someone in a hospice, we understand. And separately to this police report is the Crown Prosecution Service also launching their report today, a review really of their decision in 2009 not to charge Jimmy Savile with sexual offences following investigations by police in Surrey and in Sussex.
What do victims say about this process?
Of course, that is the priority, isn't it, for everyone concerned, the victims of Jimmy Savile. They will not get satisfaction through any court process, of course, in terms of Jimmy Savile directly, because, of course, he's dead and can't be prosecuted. But the inquiry, at least, is seen as a help to them in some ways. Deborah Cogger was abused by Savile when she was 14 at Duncroft in the 1970s. That's the approved school for girls when it existed in Surrey. She says she hopes publication of the police report today will help bring about closure in some way for her and others. It's just about being able to finally be believed, she says. It's not even about telling the story, it's simply about being believed. Liz Dux is from Slater and Gordon, one of the groups of solicitors representing some of the victims. She says Operation U-Tree, the police inquiry, has given victims what she calls validity. They're able to give their statements for the first time in circumstances where they're believed and where they're being dealt with sensitively, she says. Now they can move on to the inquiry, she says, at least, and she hopes those inquiries are dealt with as swiftly as possible.
How is the police criminal investigation going?
Well, Operation U2 continues, and detectives are looking at 3 strands to their inquiries: claims against Savile solely, those against Savile involving others, and those against others not involving Jimmy Savile at all. And they've made a number of high-profile inquiries and arrests so far, including the former pop star Gary Glitter, the comedian Freddie Starr, and the PR man Max Clifford, the DJ David Travis. He was bailed again earlier this week, and of course Jim Davidson earlier this month became the 10th person to be questioned in relation to Operation U-Tree. All those, of course, deny the alleged the allegations against them.
Simon, thank you very much for that.
The BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, people living on Wixham's in Bedfordshire say they'll fight plans for a landfill on their doorstep. It forms part of a wider waste management facility being suggested for the old clay pits just outside Bedford. Hundreds of people have objected and will today hand in their concerns to the council. Joe Robury is from the Say No to Wixham's landfill group. Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Ian.
Why are you and other residents so against this landfill?
Well, we're very against it because we feel we've been sold a dream of living in Wixham's. Now, Wixham's, as you know, is a big development. We promised lots of amenities, sports facilities, schools, a health centre, and very importantly, a railway, which is obviously of interest to the wider Bedfordshire community. The proposals that are under consideration at the moment, we feel we weren't really informed, and we live, as Zaina, you heard earlier, metres away from this proposed development, which is actually on a beautiful flooded pits, which anglers from all over the country come to fish because it's been there for sort of 40, 50 years.
How long have you lived there?
I've lived there 18 months.
OK, and at what point did you find out that this landfill was being proposed?
Well, FCC Environment, who put the plans together, have held 2 public consultations. One which was held just at the top of the A6. We found out as residents just the night before their second consultation that they were holding, and the way we found that out was by one of the local residents took it off their own initiative to do a mail shot around the houses. And so
the company didn't say, by the way, we're talking, we might build a landfill here, you might be interested.
Obviously, through the normal planning process, they put their plans together. However, it's a site called Elstow South, which, of course, Wixham's residents felt was in a different location, and so if you see something in a different location, you tend not to read the detail of it. And so that's why we're spreading our message now, and residents of all of Bedford, Elstow, Wilstead, Kempston, they will all be affected by this, so I'd urge them to visit our site at saynotowixhamslandfill.org.uk or get onto our Facebook site, Say No to Wixham's Landfill.
If you'd have known this landfill was going to be built there, would you have moved to Wixham's?
Well, probably not. The reason being, we feel there are a number of questions that FCC have not answered. This is not an objection, this is not an NIMBYism. We understand that, we have to deal with waste. We're questioning the mineral waste and core strategy that Bedford have put together. We don't believe there is a need for another landfill in Bedford. Nadine Dorries, our MP, has also said as such. We seem to be a dumping ground for all of Britain. I would probably have... I'd love to live in Wixham's, and I do love living in Wixham's because of all the amenities that we've been promised, and it's a fantastic scheme, and that's why Gallagher's, the major developer, are on board with our protest as well.
You've got your websites, you've just mentioned. What else are you doing? How is the protest taking shape?
Well, today, I think you mentioned, we're handing in our technical objection, which is, I think it's about a 20-page document to Central Beds, who are... looking at the mineral waste and core strategy. They're coordinating it for Bedford Borough Council, which is what we come under. We're gaining some momentum. We've got nearly 600 formal objections, which is a really good amount. We're also thinking about the future. There are several barriers to this process going through. The first is the mineral strategy, which if that's get rejected, the whole idea of this landfill becomes obsolete. If that gets approved by Bedford Borough Council, then the real fight starts.
What's the timescale for this? How quickly are things moving in terms of their plans going through?
There's consultation between Gallagher's, FCC, Borough Council, all the local stakeholders, which is ongoing over the next couple of weeks. The minerals and waste core strategy, which is a bit of a mouthful, so you'll have to forgive me, that is for review, I think, in February. If that goes through, the planning application will then be heard, and it could be anything beyond April. But this whole process could go on until October before we really know where we stand with it.
If the landfill and the waste management facility goes ahead, what impact will that have on Wixham's, do you think?
Well, the biggest impact will be house developers will not wish to build there. We've already seen a few people pull out of homes because of the furore we've made regarding this. Now, if that happens, Gallagher's won't be able to attract house builders to the site. That will mean that independent providers won't want to put facilities in. There'll be no need for the schools there. Network Rail have lodged a very good complaint, which they've suggested that if the village doesn't grow, because the area that is not built is between the existing village and the railway line, so if that area doesn't grow, Network Rail, there's a good chance they won't build that station, which of course will affect the wider Bedford community.
Are people going to move out, do you think, if they're not happy?
I don't think people will move out, because we're a really tight-knit community, and we've gone from a standing start to a really great campaign, and we're here at BBC Towers now discussing it. We've got the local press on board, and as I say, Nadine Dorris is coming down later on, and we're really passionate about the Wixham's ideal, so we really want to make it work, which is why we've seen so much protest against it.
Do you think you stand a chance? 600 protesters, it's a lot, but is that going to be enough, do you think?
Yeah, we absolutely stand a chance. We absolutely stand a chance. We want to beat this thing at every opportunity we get. Now, we might be able to beat it in the next 2 weeks. If we don't, we've got a lot of objection and protest to fall back on. But it really needs people from Wixham's, Elstow, Kempston and Wilstead to get online, lodge their complaint, kick up a stink, let the MPs know, let the council know, and we don't want to take this lying down. And of course the other thing is, residents of Elstow, they had the landfill at Elstow North for all those years, and they're thinking, why should we have another one?
Joe, listen, we'll be following this very closely, and no doubt we'll be speaking again. Thank you very much for coming in. That's Joe Robury from the Say No to Wixham's Landfill Group.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Shall we have a quick look at the front page of the newspapers? Let's have a little look, shall we? I think we gave them justice earlier. The Times. Oh, look, they've got all of these silly stories. How to Stay Fit for Life. The Easy 8-Step Plan by Matt Roberts. Then there's a picture of a young girl using a chick as a telephone. I've got no idea what that's about. And Germans tell UK, no New Deal on Europe. David Cameron's hopes of negotiating looser ties between Britain and Brussels are all but impossible, according to an ally of Angela Merkel. Or as we call her, Angela Merkel. The Daily Telegraph. Disarray as childcare tax break is put on hold. Blast from the Baltic brings snow and health warning. And there's a lady from a film is on the front page. My popular cultural references are slightly out of date. I don't know who Anne Hathaway is. She's from Les Mis, I know that much, but she's from other films as well, is she? I guess she is. No idea. Not a clue. Looks being The Devil Wears Prada. Of course, I should have known that. I've got the 2 DVD Blu-ray set. What? I haven't. I've never seen it in my life. The Guardian. Officer is first phone hacking conviction. And there's a picture of a lady from the Quentin Tarantino film. And Spielberg's Lincoln leads patriotic Oscars charge. This award season begins with a rousing chorus of the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, dear. Lincoln. It's one of those films that win a load of Oscars, right, because it's worthy. Oh, it's so worthy. It's also really, really boring. At least the first 15 minutes of it were before I walked out, because it was boring. Hey, listen, kids, if you're going to make a film, why don't you make it exciting and interesting? There was not one car chase in that film. The Independent. The Rape of Justice. The true extent of the justice system's failure to protect women and men from sexual assault can be revealed today. But will these shocking statistics lead to change? The Daily Express. Pension relief for millions, and there's a picture of Adele on there. She's obviously done something. The Daily Mail. Enough to make you shudder. Temperatures set for sudden plunge to minus 10 degrees as average heating bill for the elderly soars to £1,350. And then there's another picture of Adele. And then the Sun have really given up, haven't they? Any pretence at being a newspaper. Sicko shaved my Shih Tzu. Yeah, Thank you very much indeed. Now, that's a genius question, Whiteley. Did he invent the first children's slide? It's something you don't think of, and then when someone says... Oh, yeah, of course, where did slides come from? You just assume they've always been around. That is genius, and that is why David Whiteley on Inside Out is always a fantastic watch. Now, this morning, we have been exploring the demise of the working men's club across Beds, Herts and Bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio has found that many of our clubs are facing financial crisis, with around 50% being forced to close in the last 10 years. Well, joining me now is Danny Glass, club singer from Luton, with over 40 years' experience. Morning, Danny.
Good morning, Ian.
You've been singing in social clubs since you were 20.
That's correct, yeah. I've been down in Luton 50 years now.
You've not got a Luton accent?
No, I'm Scottish, yeah. I come from a little place called Port Glasgow.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Have you?
It's nice there, isn't it?
It's wonderful there.
Have you been down here for 50 years?
I've been down here for 50 years, but I left Luton for about 11 years. I went to live in the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
The wife and I had a little guest house.
Why have you got such a strong Scottish accent still, then?
You know, I don't really know, because I know people that's been down here maybe 4 or 5 years and the accent is gone. I've been getting electrocution lessons.
How you got into singing at 20? Why? What made you start doing that?
Well, I just love music. I started off playing drums, actually. I'm a drummer, actually.
Right.
And I joined a little band called Dave Lee and the Mystery Men when I first came down to Luton. And it progressed then, and I was joined a show band, Skyliner show band, very, very great band. 8 of us in the band. We used to tour around the country, Liverpool, Manchester. And then I formed my own band called Danny's Clan, which was a very popular band around the clubs. Used to do a lot of the comedy. I never used to do a lot of singing. I was the one who used to do all the comedy,
right,
mucking about. But then I went to Isle of Wight and became a solo singer then, and done the hotels.
You must have had some great times playing the working men's clubs. What kind of memories stand out for you?
I've had great times playing the working men's clubs, especially one club, the Labour Club in Luton, which is a fantastic club. We had great times there. We sort of knew quite a lot of people, you know. We had good fun, and of course, I heard some people saying that you couldn't get a seat at 7 o'clock at night. That's quite right. Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Well, it was. We've had people saying all morning that back in the day, these places were rammed. You know, if you didn't get there by 7:30, there would be no room for you.
That's correct.
And I imagine there was a real sense of community as well, because there'd be a lot of regulars there.
Oh, there was, yes. I mean, the families, the sons, the daughters, and the mums and dads and uncles and aunts. Oh, yes. The clubs were fantastic, and unfortunately, a lot of the clubs are gone now.
Well, we've heard about 50% in the last 10 years. Where's it gone wrong? Why has it gone wrong, Danny?
Well, myself, the younger generation now I think have made their own mind up. They go down to the nightclubs and pubs, and that's their life. In our days, we're in our 20s. There was no sort of nightclubs then. It was just clubs. So and then all these nightclubs have just sprang up, and that's what's happening.
Now listen, you normally sing late at night in the evenings.
I generally sing. I'm going to retire this year, actually, from singing. I've had enough.
You've had enough of it.
I've had not enough.
I can't be bothered anymore.
I'm getting too old for it now, Ian. I'm nearly 70 now.
You're a young lad. Come on.
I know. People keep saying that to me, but when you're on stage, you know, your own bones creak.
Simon and Garfunkel are in their 70s.
Yeah.
They've probably got a few more quid than you.
I suppose they only do about 45-minute spots. Some of the club you do about 3-hour spot.
Blimey. Listen, but it's 7 minutes to 9. You're going to sing us a song, are you?
I'm going to sing a little country song. I don't know if it's a Hank Lachlan song or not, but it's a lovely song for all the ladies out there who are cooking in the morning and make their husbands their dinner, and it's a little song for them.
Get your headphones on, boss.
Okay.
You tell me when you're ready and I'll start the music. You comfortable? Here we go. Boom, boom. Come on, we'll have some of that.
Yeah.
We'll have some of that, won't we?
It's a bit early for that.
Danny Glass,
Thank you very
listen,
much.
we got time for a second one. I'm joking.
No,
we haven't got time. We haven't got time. That was fantastic. And the thing about these old songs, right? Everyone says, "Oh, I don't know that one." Oh, yes, I do know it. And look, we even had the Laura, the producer, joining in.
Yeah.
Everyone was joining. David Prever was having a little bop over there.
And they're very young as well, aren't they?
Well, one of them is. I'm not saying which one. Ollie, work experience, refused to join in.
Yeah,
I'll have words with him afterwards. Unbelievable. Well, listen, with entertainment like that, why are the working men's clubs dying out, Danny?
Well, you know, I'm a member of the Celtic Club in Luton, and we had a meeting about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Enticing all the young people to trying to get them on the committee. Because the age of the committee now are like 60s, 70s. It's too old for them now. They want younger blood on the committee.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know what the response was, but I know there's quite a few there in the club very concerned. And I hope all the clubs that are listening try to get the younger people interested in the clubs. I mean, we've got Sky Television nowadays.
Yeah.
But it costs the club quite a lot of money.
Danny, are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
What's your name?
No, I'm not.
No, you should go and get on Twitter.
Yeah.
Get Danny Glass on Twitter. I can see you can make it. We're getting you back. Sir. You're coming back on this show. I enjoyed that. That was exactly what we need. Catherine Boyle, who does the news, and she's very clever.
Yeah.
She's just messaged me, can we have Danny every week? That may be a little bit extreme.
It would be.
But we're definitely getting you back. It's lovely to meet you, boss.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much.
Lots of love to you and the family. There we go. What a great way to end the week and end the show. Danny Glass, a Luton working men's club legend, coming in and giving us a song like that. I hope you were singing along at home. I really do hope you were singing along at home. I'm so touched we had Danny come in. He's retiring this year. He's retiring. Why are working men's clubs closing down? I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Real live entertainment. That's what you want. Listen, that's it. That's your lot. I'm done for the week. Back on Monday at 6. Do stick around, though, because David Prever is filling in. It's his last show before Jonathan Vernon-Smith comes back, so be nice to him, please. See you later. Ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Hey, good looking. What a great show with Ian. Back Monday morning, 6 a.m. Have a nice weekend.